Good afternoon, people. Good afternoon, everyone out there. So we'll continue with the classes. I know with every passing day the pressure for prelims, at least not, the pressure would not be the right word, the focus towards prelims is increasing. So I totally understand your constraints, and I understand that if you're not able to devote time to main specific topics, or for that matter answer writing is not been possible at your end. Absolutely no issues, because obviously half of March has already gone, so I can totally relate to the fact that you are totally focused on the preparation for prelims, and I have come across to know that there are certain prelim specific topics which is going on in your batches. So I totally understand that you're focusing on that. So why am I saying this is that don't have any guilt feeling if you're not able to practice answer writing. If you're not able to focus on your optionals as of now, even if you are attending the classes, depending upon how you are going about the preparation, so whichever or whatever is your respective optional, so if you're not able to practice answer writing, if you're not able to prepare in a manner as you intended to prepare, don't have any guilt feeling. It's absolutely normal, because वो हमेशा जब भी आपका पहला attempt होगा, that pressure would always be there. You want to clear prelims because you want to write mains, one, and second, you want to clear prelims for your confidence also, for that self-confidence, that once you clear prelims, you get that confidence, okay, because it is assumed to be the biggest hurdle, because not because of the amount of difficulty or the amount of the syllabus, it is more because of the competition. There are too many students who are writing prelims, yet only a very minuscule amount manages to clear. But once you clear prelims, you at least have an assurance that if you have nailed your optional, you've prepared it well, you have prepared your ethics essay well, so, and you have decent answer writing skills, so mains would not be that bigger a challenge, trust me. And I have been through this journey and I know जो gamble होता है वो prelims होता है, because एक question इधर उधर, or you are either writing for the mains or you're not writing for the mains. Many a times I've seen people reaching up till the stage of interview, and then they again, when they end up writing prelims for whatever reasons, either to improve the rank or they have not made it to the final list, many a times prelims again becomes a hurdle. So I know that prelims for many people is a big stage, and if you're totally focusing on that, absolutely no issues. So just don't have even for a iota of guilt. Okay, chalo, let's start. So the last topic that we started was attitude. See, as far as ethics is concerned, there are certain areas which becomes important as far as questions are concerned. Attitude becomes important, emotional intelligence becomes important, moral thinkers becomes important. So these are certain areas from where the possibility of questions is very high. Now, as far as the values or the socialization was concerned, that is also important, because many a times you end up getting the question. Leaders पे अक्सर question आता है, media पे question बनता है, ठीक है, family पे question बनता है. So these are important areas, and if you have understood what we are doing for past 4 lectures is to make you more comfortable with the idea that what kind of questions can be asked, right? Now, attitude is very important. Reason being, they end up asking you question. For example, I have already told you the difference between bureaucratic attitude and democratic attitude. Then once they also ask the question, why there exists contrasting attitude with respect to caste system, and how those attitude can be changed. So this was the question which was once asked. I'll discuss how we are supposed to approach. Then there was a question how social influence and persuasion can be used for effective implementation of Swachh Bharat mission. That's a separate topic that we are going to discuss tomorrow. So this is how the questions have been asked. Is that very clear? Okay. And this year also the question was asked, but it was with respect to attitude of civil servants. So you have discussed attitude in my class. Now what should be the attitude of civil servant would be discussed when the other faculty talks about administrative ethics or with respect to responsibility of civil servants. So even if the faculty doesn't discuss, you will be able to answer. Because if you know what should be the administrative values, so when those administrative values would be implemented, to a particular policy or to particular governance. I told you, when the value is specifically applied to the object, it becomes your attitude. So what should be the attitude of a civil servant? Whether it should be a democratic attitude or whether it should be a bureaucratic attitude. So it should be the middle path. So you know the answer. It's just that many a times you might get the question which exactly have not been prepared, but if you use your accumulated knowledge, a slight of presence of mind, and if you are aware about the examples in the current context, trust me, ethics बहुत interesting paper है लिखने के लिए. And I am not able to recall. I think Ankur, did you ask me to upload the answers on the platform portal पे? So we have asked the team, and I think it has been uploaded also. So you can check. And I'm sorry if I have said the name incorrectly, because मुझे जहाँ तक याद है अंकुर ही था, but मुझे एकदम से अभी strike नहीं कर रहा है. तो अगर जिसने भी बोला था, I mean that is what I meant to say. तो upload हो गए हैं, तो आप देख लेना. Now the purpose of giving those handwritten answers is just to give you clarity कि this is how the answer writing has to be done. Is that very clear? Okay. So last class we were discussing what is attitude. We have talked about characteristic features of attitude. We have discussed about the components of attitude. And while I was discussing the components of attitude, we have discussed one negative attitude, which is intergroup and which is irrational. And that attitude is known as prejudice. Then we talked about that when you are talking about prejudice, then what is the factor which is responsible for development of prejudice? So again, there exist three components. You have stereotype, you have emotions, and you have action tendency. That is what we have discussed. I think this was clear for everyone out there. Then when we were talking about that how you are supposed to address the prejudices, then we said that the intervention often happens at the level of behavior, and the behavior is suppressed by means of laws. Right? However, if you want to address the problem of prejudice right from the root cause, then it is the stereotype which needs to be addressed. So right kind of socialization from early childhood is very important, because time and again I have been emphasizing on the fact that values, attitude, ethics, morals, it takes lot of effort to build. Right? And every now and then your values and your attitude cannot undergo a change. It's a slow process when it comes down to changing of values and attitude, right? So right from the beginning, you should have right kind of attitude, you should have right kind of value system. So role of socialization becomes very important. So now are you understanding how these chapters connect with each other? So one of the aspect is how will you ensure right kind of value system? Through the process of socialization. And that is why we discuss the agencies of socialization, कि चाहे family हो, चाहे education हो, चाहे media हो, चाहे leadership हो, चाहे peer group हो, everyone has to provide you right kind of values. Only then you will be able to create a virtuous society. Only then you will be able to address the social problems in the society. Is that very clear? So did you understand attitude in entirety? So attitude is long-lasting evaluation about various aspects of social life. I said you hold an attitude because it is functional for you. Functional is it is performing some role for you, the positive role for you, and that is the reason why you are holding a certain attitude. If that particular attitude is not functional for you, you will abandon that attitude there and then. Is that clear? This is what we discussed in characteristic feature. I told you how attitude is enduring, it is long lasting. How do you develop an attitude? After positive, negative evaluation with respect to either object, event, person, idea, anything it is. Is that very clear? Now when you are holding an attitude, there are two entities. One is the attitude holder, another is the attitude object towards which the attitude is being held. And the kind of attitude I'm holding towards this object is governed by the fact that whether that attitude is functional for me or not. And functional means it is performing some positive role for me or not. Is that very clear? Okay. And I told you that attitude knowingly, unknowingly, consciously, unconsciously will be communicated to the other person. Is that clear? Either you communicate it verbally or you communicate it non-verbally, but it will be communicated. Is that very clear for everyone? I gave you certain questions also. ठीक है. So there was a assignment question, there was a self test question. Even if you've not attempted, just whenever you look at the question, just prepare a framework. Don't write a detailed answer because you don't have a time for it, but at least prepare a framework in your subconscious mind that if this question comes, this is how am I supposed to address it. Is that very clear? Is it making sense? ठीक है. So are you getting the point that how attitude, see, so we have elements of attitude is hard for me to understand. Rohit, you need to understand that elements of attitude में तीन ही चीजें यार. Component element से यहाँ पे क्या मतलब है? Components बोल रहे हो ना? If you are asking with respect to the components of attitude, then there is cognitive, that is belief. How the attitude is shaped by three aspects of it, right? So one is your belief about something, the belief which generates the emotions, and finally the emotions leading to action tendency. Is that very clear for everyone? ठीक है, इतना कोई मुश्किल है नहीं रोहित. If you have any specific doubt, then let me know. You can ask your doubt in the doubt platform. Otherwise, all you need to do is, we have discussed this in the first class also, and we have discussed it in the fourth lecture also, that belief is your internal feeling that something is true. You have a belief that corruption needs to be despised, right? You have a stereotype that women are not good with mathematics. You have a stereotype that lower caste people have low IQ. So when such stereotype exists, then it generates the emotion. And it can be any kind of emotion. It can be an emotion of disgust. It can be an emotion of pity. It can be an emotion of anger, hate, whatsoever. And depending upon your emotions, you have general or certain action tendencies. And depending upon your emotions, you have a tendency to behave in a certain manner. But that does not guarantee that you will behave in that manner. Is that very clear? This is what do we mean when we say components of attitude or components of prejudice. The only difference is prejudice is a negative attitude which is based on a stereotype. Attitude is based on belief, right? But prejudice is based on a stereotype. It has three components: cognitive, affective, and behavioral component. बस इतना पता होना चाहिए. Is that very clear? Today we are starting with another aspect of attitude, and that is functions of attitude. The functional theory is provided by Daniel Katz. Daniel Katz has basically given a functional perspective on attitude, that attitude is held by an individual because it is performing certain functions. Now he said there are four types of functions. One is the need function. Second, the knowledge function. Third, ego defensive function. And fourth, is value expressive functions. Is that clear? So according to Daniel Katz, attitude has four specific functions, and that is why attitude is held by an individual. And any one of the function or more than one also can be performed by that particular attitude. I'll give you example, you will get the clarity, but just write this much, that functions of attitude, the perspective has been provided by Daniel Katz, and there are four functions which are performed by the attitude: need function, knowledge function, ego defensive function, and value expressive function. So according to Daniel Katz, fourfold functions have been performed by the attitude. Is that clear? Now let's start with the first one, that is need. See, any human being, for that matter, any human being, right? We all want, or we are governed by a need, and that need is to maximize our rewards and minimize our punishments. See, What varies is what kind of rewards. Someone can be governed by social rewards, someone can be governed by cultural rewards, political rewards, economic rewards, or self-satisfaction rewards. So there can be different types of rewards. But one thing across the society is very clear is that every individual has a need, and the need is to maximize their rewards and to minimize their punishment. Now, I am an attitude holder. This is my attitude object. Now, my attitude towards this object would be determined by the fact that whether that attitude is serving my need or not, whether that attitude is maximizing my rewards and minimizing my punishments or not. Is that very clear? Let us suppose, I'll give you an example to make you understand. I am a corporate house, attitude holder, political party, attitude object. So this corporate house, what kind of attitude will I be holding towards this political party will depend upon the fact that whether that attitude is going to serve my needs or not. And corporate house, my needs is to maximize my economic rewards. Now I know this XYZ party is there. Now if this party comes to power, my economic needs would be maximized. Will I not be holding a positive attitude towards this political party? Will I not be favorably disposed towards this political party? Because I know if this political party comes to power, my economic rewards would be maximized. Is that very clear? Is that clear? Ashutosh, need attitude looks like selfishness. There is nothing wrong in being selfish. Nothing wrong. I'll tell you when I'm teaching you ethics, as in the philosophical aspect of ethics. There is a very famous scholar, Ayn Rand. Have you heard of a book known as Fountainhead? So Fountainhead is written by Ayn Rand. She has given a perspective of ethical egoism. I'm just answering to this because wo mujhe dig gaya response portal pe. So ethical egoism says charity begins at home. So first you fulfill your self-interest, then about the interest of others. Because if you yourself is not happy, how will you keep others happy? But that does not mean, listen very carefully. That does not mean that I am asking you to fulfill your self-interest. All I am saying is there is one philosophical aspect which justifies when you think about yourself. But then there is a difference between ethical egoism and psychological egoism. Now listen carefully. When I am thinking about my self-interest, however I am not causing harm to others, it is absolutely ethical. Ego matlab self hota hai. So ethical egoism. So it is ethical to think about your self-interest, provided in pursuing your self-interest, you are not harming the interest of others. On the contrary, there is psychological egoism, which says that if in fulfilling your selfish interest, you are causing harms to others, then that is not desirable. Is that clear? ठीक है. So need attitude. Did you get my point? What I'm trying to tell you here. So Ayn Rand, Fountainhead लिखी है उन्होंने. तो Fountainhead में उन्होंने ethical egoism की ही बात करी है. So ethical egoism says that pursuing your selfish interest is ethical, provided in that process you are not causing harm to the interest of others. Is that clear? Now this was the answer to what you said. ठीक? चलो, let us talk about this. So need function. Did you get my point? Now. अब अभी आया है ना कि द पर्टिकुलर बिजनेस हाउस ऑफ इंडिया, द पर्सन हैज बिकम द रिचेस्ट पर्सन इन द वर्ल्ड. He has surpassed Jeff Bezos also. So he has become the richest person. And that particular corporate house in past 5-6 years, the wealth has multiplied like by 1,000 times, right? I'm just giving you a perception here. So that particular business corporate house, if is supporting a particular political party, absolutely justified according to their economic rewards. Because every individual wants to maximize their rewards. Now let us suppose I am no corporate house. I'm giving you every possible example to make you understand need function. I am no corporate house. I'm a common man. However, I believe that if I support this particular political party, then I would be able to continue preserve my religious hegemony in the society, because this particular political party is strongly dedicated to implement, to hegemonize a particular religious ideology. So here I am not concerned about anything else. All I am concerned about the fact that my religious ideology is very similar to the religious ideology of this political party. So if this political party, I have a positive attitude towards this political party only because I know if this political party comes to power or continues to remain in power, I would be able to assert my religious hegemony in the society. Why will I not be positively disposed towards this political party? I told you now what differs is what kind of rewards matter to you. It can be economic rewards, it can be political rewards, it can be cultural rewards, it can be social rewards, it can be spiritual rewards. So it totally depends. Is that clear? Maybe that person is not concerned about unemployment. Maybe that person is not concerned about declining GDP. He is only concerned about the fact that I should have a positive attitude towards this political party because this political party will help me maximize my cultural rewards. That is preserving and perpetuating my religious hegemony in the society. Absolutely no issues. यार उनकी सोच है. तो सबका अपना attitude अपने need से define होता है. Is that very clear? ठीक है, are you getting the point? Now, I am some party member, कार्यकर्ता of XYZ member. First, I was a corporate house. Second, I am a common man who is governed by religious ideology. Third, I am a person who has political ambitions. So, I have this XYZ party, right? So, this party told me that if you support us, then we are going to give you the ticket in the next election. So this party, having a positive attitude towards this particular party, is helping me promoting my political interest, is helping me maximizing my political rewards. Obviously, I will be positively disposed towards this political party. Is that very clear? This is how it has to be understood. Make sense? Now, fourth example. I understand that here you are thinking that thoda example one-sided ho raha hai, so I will give you the other side of example also. I am a common man. However, I am not governed by a religious ideology. I am governed by social infrastructure. Right? The best example is Delhi state elections. So when the survey was conducted, so everyone was asked who is the charismatic leader in everyone. In one go, everyone said that Prime Minister is the most charismatic person, the current Prime Minister. And everyone was accepting the fact. But then everyone said that he is a figure at a central level. Right? So if at the central level I have to see a charismatic leader, so he is our current Prime Minister. However, in the state affairs, in the state politics, we are more concerned about the social infrastructure. So we are going to vote for this particular party which is currently in power in Delhi. We are going to vote for this party because this party is going to serve our interest with respect to social infrastructure. In past 5 years, they have provided us health, education, water, electricity, whatsoever it is. Did you get my point? So here they were thinking about maximizing their social rewards. Rewards with respect to social infrastructure, whether it is health, education, water, electricity, etc. Did you get my point? Did you get the point? So here what I'm trying to say is your rewards can be very different, but you will be holding that reward because of the fact that that reward is serving, that attitude is serving some need of you. And one common need is to maximize the rewards and to minimize the punishment. Am I clear on this? हम थोड़ा सा लिखे फिर आगे बात करते हैं. ठीक है, चलो लिखो. Need function, need function, need function. Write down. Many attitudes are formed, many attitudes are formed, many attitudes are formed as a result, many attitudes are formed as a result of the rewards and punishment. Many attitudes are formed as a result of rewards and punishment attached with it. Rewards and punishment attached with it. Rewards and punishment attached with it. Full stop. We develop a favorable attitude. We develop a favorable attitude towards a particular thing. We develop a favorable attitude towards a particular thing if it maximizes our rewards. If it maximizes our rewards. If it maximizes our rewards. For example, अब वो एग्जाम्पल्स लिखो. कॉर्पोरेट हाउस पॉजिटिवली डिस्पोज्ड टुवर्ड्स अ पॉलिटिकल पार्टी. कॉर्पोरेट हाउस पॉजिटिवली डिस्पोज्ड टुवर्ड्स अ पॉलिटिकल पार्टी since it will advance their economic rewards. Since it will advance their economic rewards. Economic rewards. Second example. A common man positively disposed towards a party or having a favorable attitude towards a political party on caste or religious lines due to caste or religious ideologies. Due to caste or religious ideologies. Due to caste or religious ideologies. ठीक है. Next point. Once these attitudes are formed, once these attitudes are formed, they continue to be useful. They continue to be useful. They continue to be useful in helping us achieving our goals. Continue to be useful in helping us achieving our goals. Next. We will continue with a certain attitude. We will continue with a certain attitude only till our needs are getting fulfilled. We will continue with a certain attitude only till our needs are getting fulfilled. The day it stops fulfilling, the day it stops fulfilling the needs, we will abandon the attitude. We will abandon the attitude. The day it stops fulfilling our need, we will abandon the attitude. We will abandon the attitude and replace it with new one. We will abandon the attitude and replace it with new one. Replace it with new one. Full stop. the attitude also changes, the attitude also changes if the individual is convinced the attitude also changes if the individual is convinced, that the new attitude will help him, serving the existing needs better. The new attitude will help him in serving the existing needs better. Hold. Hero, I'll explain. See, the first part of whatever I have dictated so far we have done. The second part is, now let us suppose you are positively disposed towards reservation. Okay? I belong to a certain caste and remember, or kahin kyun jaye, UPSC question. Why do people have contrasting attitude with respect to caste system? Are you understanding that you can answer this question? Thoda socho. Why do people have contrasting attitude towards caste system? What is the perspective of higher caste towards caste system? They will be positively disposed because this is rigid caste stratification which has enabled the upper caste people to maintain their hegemony over the period of time. Did you get my point? And why do lower caste people have different attitude? Because this same caste system has acted as an agency of discrimination for them, right? It has denied them access to resources for a very long period of time. So they are negatively disposed towards the caste system. So the need function is what is supposed to be written here. Is that very clear? मैंने कहा ना, जो हम पढ़ेंगे वो एक बार को लगता है कि क्योंकि यार एथिक्स नया है ना, सो इट फील्स वेरी स्ट्रेंज दैट अच्छा ठीक है समझ आ गया, बट हाउ एम आई सपोज टू यूज इट? But did you get the point how you are supposed to use it? So need function can be applied there, that you are carrying an attitude only because it is serving some function for you. One of the function is need. So if it is serving the need of maximizing your reward, you will be positively disposed. If it is maximizing your punishment, you will be negatively disposed. Did you get my point? Okay. Now let us take an example to make you understand better. I have already, तभी मैं society पहले पढ़ाती हूँ. Have you understood that example that dominant caste is demanding reservation under OBC category, right? So that means if you're demanding something, your attitude is positive towards that. So dominant caste demanding reservation means dominant caste is having a favorable attitude towards reservation. Now I have to change this attitude. So what did I tell you? How can you change the attitude? Either you change the need, or you suggest them an alternative attitude which serves their existing need better, right? This is what I've said, but then you should know what is the need of the dominant caste. Give me 2 minutes, I'll explain this. This topic we have already done. I'll just tell you how society can also help you. Dominant caste. So this was an agricultural community which was dominating, and it was dominating socially, economically as well as politically. ठीक है? However, over the period of time, agriculture came under distress. At the same time, lack of opportunity with respect to education, they could not reap the benefits of the educational opportunities which were issued to them. As a result, the hegemony was threatened because agriculture came under distress, lack of ability to reap the benefits of educational opportunity. Remember that diagram which I made for you? There is a feeling of relative deprivation both from upper caste as well as lower caste. So the reason was their hegemony is threatened. ठीक है? तो अब इनकी नीड क्या है? इनकी नीड है to restore their hegemony. And how will they restore their hegemony? By means of
इकोनॉमिक सिक्योरिटी। भाई इनकम ही तो डिस्ट्रेस में आ रही है ना, एग्रीकल्चर डिस्ट्रेस में चला गया, अब एग्रीकल्चर इज नो लॉन्गर रेम्यूनरेटिव फॉर देम, दे डिड नॉट रीप द बेनिफिट्स ऑफ एजुकेशन अपॉर्चुनिटी, रिजर्वेशन उनके पास है नहीं, तो अब दिक्कत क्या है, व्हाट इज द मेन रिक्वायरमेंट? मेन रिक्वायरमेंट इज टू रीस्टैब्लिश देयर हेजेमनी बाय मींस ऑफ इनकम सिक्योरिटी, राइट? तो अल्टीमेट नीड इज income security, and they think that the income security can be ensured through government jobs, and that is why they are positively disposed towards reservation. Now I have to change this attitude, and this attitude is because of need function. So in order to change this attitude, I have given you two solutions. Either you change their need, or you suggest an alternative attitude which will serve their existing need better. So I thought, let us change their need first. So I will tell them that security does not lie in jobs. Security lies in your skills. Because even if you get the reservation, that will not guarantee that you will get the job. Reservation is a means, not the end. And the government now time and again is talking about that the performance evaluation would be done. Even after getting the government job, there is no guarantee that you will continue to remain. There is something called golden handshake. There is something called VRS that would be given to you if you are not performing according or as per to their expectation. Did you get the point? So ability or security lies in your skills, not in your job. Amartya Sen's concept of capability approach. काबिल बनो, सक्सेस अपने आप मिलेगी, राइट? सो द सिक्योरिटी डजंट लाई इन जॉब्स, सिक्योरिटी लाइज इन skills, right? So I am trying to change their need, right? There can be another way that ultimately their need is income security. So let me suggest them an alternative attitude. Let me convince them that agriculture is the upcoming sector again, because globally there is a problem of food insecurity and hunger. MS Swaminathan also says, I have told you this n number of times, that future belongs to nation with grains, not with guns. So agriculture, if you invest judicially, if you train yourself with respect to technology in agriculture, agriculture is the future. It is the most lucrative area. In fact, many high net worth individuals in other countries are farmers. So agriculture should not be seen with a very regressive attitude. You should be positively disposed towards agriculture, because agriculture is the upcoming occupation. Agriculture needs to be revived and invested because of the growing problem of hunger and food insecurity. And future belongs to nation with grains, not with guns. People of the status of MS Swaminathan has been talking about it. So now I am providing them an alternative attitude, that by shifting your attitude from reservation to agriculture, you can serve your income interest better. This is how it can be changed. Is that very clear? Is that very clear? Is it making sense? This was just an example to make you explain the last 2 points which I made you write. Now very quickly, did you understand? Can you write this? ठीक है? Will you be able to write this example? ये लिख लो अगर किसी ने नहीं लिखा है, ऐसे ही बना लो. This I will not dictate. Examples is something which I will not be dictating. I can see why I always emphasize on the fact that एक तीर से बहुत सारे निशाने किया करो. What I mean is that if you have a certain examples at your disposal, try to use it in different capacity, because remembering more or different set of examples sometimes becomes challenging. You can make use of certain example, क्योंकि एक जैसे क्वेश्चन तो नहीं पूछेगा ना एक ही साल में हर पेपर में. You can have similar question but in different years. In the same year, you cannot have same questions everywhere, right? So this kind of examples can always come very handy. For example, we have discussed women issues like n number of times. We can use the same example. Initially, traditionally, what was your attitude? Obviously, still we have patriarchal values only. अच्छा, ये best example होगा, एक मिनट समझना. We have patriarchal values, but I told you, patriarchal values can have different manifestations. बहुत ध्यान से समझना. Now, different objects के प्रति I would have different interpretation of my values. ठीक है? So, attitude can be different. Now, traditionally also I was patriarchal. Today also I was patriarchal. But then there is a difference. Traditionally, I had a very patriarchal attitude to the fact that I did not allow my women to work outside. Because that was serving a need of me. And that need was to maintain my hegemony over the women. It was allowing me to maintain my hegemony over the women. I did not allow, I wanted to curtail her financial independence. Why? Because that was serving my need to hegemonize over her financial independence. Right? So I did not allow her to work. But this attitude currently was harming one another need of mine, and that was maximizing my economic rewards. Because currently the cost of living is increasing. And not allowing the women to work outside is negatively impacting the standard of living of my family. That does not mean that I have given up on my patriarchal values. वो अपनी जगह हैं. But अब मेरा attitude इस बात के लिए change हो गया है that now I allow the women to work outside. Did you get the point? Because by changing my attitude towards this particular object, whether to allow her to work outside or not, has changed. Why? Because this new attitude is serving my economic needs better. My values are still intact. I am still patriarchal. Right? But with respect to a particular object, that is to allow women work outside or not, with respect to this particular thing, my attitude has changed. I have evaluated that if I continue to keep her at house, what are the positives and negatives? And then I realized that nahin, keeping her in the house is more of a liability. So it's better that she should be allowed to work outside. Because if she is going to work outside, the standard of living of my family will continue to increase. Did you get my point? So this new attitude towards her working outside or not is serving my economic needs better. Very conveniently I changed my attitude. Did you get the point? And then I say, see, I am not patriarchal at all. अरे value अपनी जगह है भाई, वो कहीं नहीं बदली है. Did you get the point? Is this example clear? Will you be able to write the example? अरे इतना तो पढ़ लो बच्चों, अमर्त्य सेन की capability approach. Are that you have to focus on the capability. Okay, rather than giving a fish, tell the person how to fish. आप समझ आया? मैं रोज तुमको 4 मछली दे दूं, कब तक देती रहूंगी? Till what time I will be giving you free PDS? Till what time I will be giving you subsidies? Till what time I am going to waive off your loans? Instead of the fact, if I make you capable, that you can go and fish for your own self. Did you get the point? That is capability approach. I have to make sure you are skilled, you are educated, your skills are in tune with the market demands, you are healthy, you are nourished, you are rational, you are aware. I will develop that capability in you. I will make you a human capital, not just a human resource. That is what my point is. ठीक है? बिल्कुल बिल्कुल शोभिल, yes, absolutely. चलो, समझ आ गया सबको? एग्जाम्पल्स क्लियर हैं? आगे बढ़े? नेक्स्ट, नॉलेज फंक्शन. नॉलेज फंक्शन. नेक्स्ट इज द नॉलेज फंक्शन. राइट डाउन, आई विल एक्सप्लेन. नॉलेज फंक्शन. एटीट्यूड हेल्प्स नहीं आशुतोष, वैल्यूज नहीं चेंज होती हैं इतनी आसानी से. Within the values, you can have multiple set of behaviors. Within the values, you can have different attitudes. Venkat, what about alternative? Once repeat about providing an alternative. Alternative matlab, my need is still the same. My need is still to serve my, okay, let me give you an example. Okay, there are two friends, Ram and Sham. ठीक है, let's take this example. Now, ध्यान से सुनना. Attention अगर break हुआ, then you will not be able to understand. Everyone out there, please listen to the examples carefully, because repeat करना बहुत मुश्किल होता है. I'm giving you a different example. There are two friends, Ram and Sham. Ram is hardcore environmentalist. He is against this practice of cutting of trees and everything. He is very hardcore environmentalist. Whereas on the other hand, Sham has a business of furnitures, which involves cutting of trees, deforestation. ठीक है, and both are best friends. So obviously Ram wanted to interact with Sham and to change its attitude that one should not cut trees. It is going to have a negative impact on the environment. The climate change is happening. भाई उसका भी सोचना ठीक था. गया मिलने शाम से. He said Sham that Sham, you are cutting the trees. You are not understanding. It has a very negative impact on the environment. See, the climate is changing. The temperature is increasing, and very soon it would be very difficult for all of us to survive. He said, how much time will it take to for that condition to come, when it would be difficult for all of us to survive literally? He said another 100 years to be. He's like, see, neither me nor my next generation is going to survive anyway till 100 years. Do not give me this crap. This is my basic source of income. I am running a furniture house. How do you expect me not to go for cutting of trees? Not to take the wood, because otherwise how will I make the furniture? And just because serving your environmental interest, I cannot compromise on my economic interest. So that time Ram understood that he is not going to change the attitude, क्योंकि need यहाँ पे change नहीं हो रही है. Economic needs are मतलब dominating over the environmental rewards. So this need is not changing. So then he thought, let me suggest him an alternative attitude which will serve his economic need better manner. ठीक है, so he come and he spoke to Sham again. He said, Sham, what kind of customers that you get? He said, Arey, these customers are like lower middle class customers. They ask for a lot of bargaining and everything. They want furniture also. They are not ready to pay. He said, do you know nowadays there is an upcoming class in the society, educated middle class. They are the kind of nouveau riche people. Nouveau riche मतलब जो नए नए पैसे वाले बने हैं. And they are very much fond of a concept known as green furniture. He said, what is this green furniture? He said, Ari, you can sell this green furniture at a very high cost also. And these people will not even ask you for bargaining. You will have a limited customer, but instead of volume, for every furniture, you will gain a good amount of profit margin. So green furniture mein you don't have to cut the trees further. Whatever is available, you have to recycle it. So recycling the waste, and you can create this concept of green furniture. So in a way, the environmental concerns तो छोड़ो, मैं तो यहाँ तुम्हारे economic needs की बात कर रहा हूँ. I'm talking about your economic interest. Your economic interest can be served better if you go for the idea of green furniture. So instead of changing his need, he suggested an alternative attitude which can serve his economic needs better. So he suggested the example of green furniture. Furniture which is made up of, let us say, recycle waste. So for that, new set of trees don't need to be destroyed. So whatever existing furnitures that you have, that can be recycled to create this furniture. So recycled plastics, recycled waste, bamboo, all of that can be used to create furniture. So he was very curious about this idea, because now he will going to get a new set of customers. His idea of business will now be that selling green furniture. Is that very clear? Did you get my point? What example I'm trying to say here? नहीं पंकज, कुछ भी नहीं भाई. मैंने आपको पहली क्लास में ही बता दिया था एटीट्यूड और वैल्यूज क्या होते हैं. क्या एटीट्यूड कैन बी अ पेरिफेरल वैल्यू? नहीं. वैल्यू इन इटसेल्फ नहीं भाई. Sanjeev, it depends upon which philosophy, which school of thought you belong to. Whether for you the need is more important or the means is more important, or both are equally important. Now Venkat, did you get the point? Is this example clear for everyone? Is this example clear for everyone? Very quickly tell me, can I proceed to the knowledge function? बिल्कुल बिल्कुल इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस, एब्सोल्युटली. तभी तो कहते हैं कि इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस में इट ऑल डिपेंड्स अपॉन द एटीट्यूड ऑफ द लीडरशिप. What kind of attitude you are holding towards the leadership? Absolutely, you can give the examples of international relations. एक time था when China was a very closed economy. However, later stages, 1970s onwards, and 1970s onward, even US became very accommodative of China, because US also knew that China is a big market, right? So the Nixon's policy towards China, so that was very different, and the reason was the economic needs. So your attitude towards a country would be favorable depending upon what needs it is going to serve. ठीक है, तभी तो कहते हैं कि foreign relation, foreign ideology is never stable. It's not very rigid. Stable would not be the right word. It's rigid. It is flexible. Is that clear? ठीक है? Can we proceed? Next, knowledge function. Knowledge function. Write down. Attitude help the attitude holder, knowledge function, attitude help the attitude holder to organize and interpret diverse set of information. Attitude help the attitude holder to organize and interpret diverse set of information. Full stop. They provide consistency and clarity. They provide consistency and clarity in our explanation. They provide consistency and clarity in our explanation and understanding of events. They provide consistency and clarity in our explanation and understanding of events. Therefore, this function is also called, as understanding function. This function is also called as understanding function. I'll explain everything, just write it down. Next, it helps us understanding the complexities of life. It helps us understanding the complexities of life. Full stop. It provides us the frame of reference. It provides us the frame of reference which helps us. It provides us the frame of reference which helps us in organizing and interpreting the social information. Organizing and interpreting the social information. Full stop. अब एक मिनट समझो. Sometimes you hold the attitude or you develop an attitude towards the attitude object because you want to understand what is happening around you. That is why there is one function which is served by the attitude, which is a knowledge function. ठीक है. Sometimes you don't want to delve into the detailing of why a particular social reality is existing. So very conveniently you develop an attitude just to understand what is happening around. I'll give you an example. You saw a person doing the menial job, cleaning the human excreta by bare hands. or without any gadget or protective gear cleaning the septic tanks, the sewage tanks. You did not understand why this is happening. You know this is inhuman. You know this is detrimental for life, the person's life, and even then that person is performing such menial job. So now the attitude will provide you a frame of reference which will enable you to understand this reality that this is such an inhuman job, it is such detrimental for your life. Even then a person is doing the job, what can be the reason? So without getting into the reality about the caste or all of that, here you just develop an attitude. I'm giving you an example. You just develop an attitude that these people have low IQ. They don't have the IQ to perform any other job. They have the IQ to perform only these menial jobs, and that is why they are confined in the menial job. So your attitude here is just helping you to understand this complex reality. Maybe this attitude is not providing you the real truthful picture. This is not the truth that they have low IQ and they just have the IQ to perform the menial job. No. The attitude serving the knowledge function does not guarantee that this knowledge which this attitude is providing is factual. The only purpose it serves is it enables you to understand that why this reality is existing. Is that clear? I'll give you another example. You went to school and you took science as a stream. Let us say in your class there were 60 students and approximately there were 25 girls. So 20 girls, let's take this ratio. So good enough girls were there and they were doing well also, and you were PCM with, let us say, computers or economics, whichever field it was. However, after that, when you took engineering as your option for the graduation, you realized in your class there were hardly a handful of girls, like let us say 3 or 4 girls. I'm just giving you an example. So now you were trying to understand this complex reality that while pursuing the education in school, there were so many girls in my class. But in graduation in my college, why don't I have the similar ratio here? What can be the reason? So either you could have gone for patriarchy, understanding that maybe the girl has got married. भाई 18 के हो जाते हैं तो अर्ली मैरिजेस तो फिर भी हो ही रही हैं, ठीक है. सो मे बी द गर्ल हैज गॉट मैरिड, और मे बी द फादर डिडंट वांट टू इन्वेस्ट इन हर vocational technical education for that matter. She was forced to take home sciences because ultimately the objective of women is to serve the domestic chores. There could have been so many factors, but obviously you will not go into that detailing. That depends upon the choice. So you took a very convenient attitude that maybe girls are not interested in sciences. They took it in school just for fun, or they didn't have any other option. Your school didn't provide you humanities, as my school didn't have humanities. They only had 2 streams, science and commerce. They did not have arts only. I don't know for what reason, but they didn't. So I'm just giving you an example that you could have taken that. So that knowledge that girls are not good with sciences is not factual. It is not verifiable. But at least that attitude has helped you to understand that complexity of the life. So sometimes you hold an attitude not because it is serving a need of you. It is more because it is providing you the knowledge to understand the complex reality here. Is this clear? Is that clear? Is that clear? हाँ, लास्टिंग इवैल्यूएशन ही होता है पार्थ. तो आप तुरंत ये एटीट्यूड नहीं डेवलप करते हो. आज ये एटीट्यूड दैट गर्ल्स आर नॉट गुड विथ मैथ्स, गर्ल्स कैन नॉट ड्राइव, girls are more interested in literature, or there are more girls in medical field than in engineering field. Do you really think the attitude has developed in one day? No. It's what you think. It's what I am thinking that Arey, I developed this. Nahi. It is a lasting evaluation over a period of time. Every now and then you've been made to realize goods are not good, the girls are not good with technology, the girls are not good with gadgets, the girls are not fond of those cars and all the supersonic technologies and everything. Since childhood, girls are good with kitchen, girls are good with dolls, girls are playing dollhouse kind of a thing, girls are petite, they are docile, they love pink. So this has been put in your mind over a period of time. तो हमें लगता है that attitude has developed instantaneously. नहीं, there are too many factors playing its role. Is that clear? See, why girls cannot take civil engineering or for that matter mechanical engineering? God knows, they have their own reasons. Girls should not go into defense forces, their own reasons. Girls are physically not strong, their own reasons. Girls, the chances of getting molested is very high. Why? Boys can't get molested. Or the brutal crime can only be committed against girls. It cannot be committed against boys. Or the boys have the power to bear all the pain which would be served on them. The girls cannot. What nonsense. It is all the gender stereotypes which has been created. So, is that very clear? I think you've got the answer. I'm very happy. This, what I really like about this class is that our thought process on lot of things are quite similar. So I really like that. Devendra, that was an interesting thing. Is that very clear? उसका एक और reason बताऊं, देवेंद्र, being a girl, just telling what, आप लोग girls को शुरू से driving सिखाते भी नहीं हो. Lastly, they have to learn the driving because they want to learn it. All their life they have been told that you will be taken care either by your father or by your brother, or they will keep a driver for you, or maximum they will give you a scooty. Maximum. Okay. They don't give you the teaching for driving the car. If right from the beginning, if the boys have been taught, मुझे लगता है, I mean लड़कों को तो I think 9-10 standard if I'm not wrong, you start driving, although you don't have a license and you should not, but then you start doing it. चाहे friends की कार लेकर, भाई की कार वार लेकर, कुछ भी, जो भी तुम लोग करते हो. I'm generally saying, I'm sorry, I'm just taking your 2 minutes to tell you this. So you do that. So the thing that you've been doing all your life, will you not be proficient at that? And even then if you can't learn driving, then so bad for you. But all I'm trying to tell you is girls have not been socialized that ways. So even if they learn driving, that's because they put in that extra effort that look, I have to do it. And sometimes the girls also take advantage. So let's not say that. Okay. Is that very clear? Is that very clear? Chalo, let's start. I think you got the point. Chalo, next likho. The knowledge function of the attitude, the knowledge function of the attitude does not imply that attitude provides us a factually truthful picture. The knowledge function of the attitude does not imply that attitude provides us a factually truthful picture of the world around us, Truthful picture of the world around us. In fact, it provides a picture, that is meaningful and understandable, to the individual, who happens to hold this attitude, Venkat, yes, we can say to certain extent, if the knowledge is not based on verifiable facts. On the contrary, let us say you have a negative attitude towards the caste. Let us put it. Now, the examples that we discussed was on the other side of the domain. Let us take this side. So let us say you have a negative attitude towards the caste system. Reason being that attitude provided you the knowledge that it is this caste rigidity which has compelled that person to perform that menial job. You have a negative attitude towards patriarchy because you understood, that is providing you the knowledge that because of patriarchy there is gender stereotyping, and because of which you have certain perceptions towards girls. So it can be both the side. One, that knowledge might not be based on truth, but it is still helping you to understand the situation. On the other hand, you delve into the detailing, you got the knowledge based on the truth and fact, and so you are having a certain attitude. So it totally depends what is the source of your knowledge. If it is based on verifiable fact, then that attitude would not be a stereotype. But if that knowledge is just there on the basis of what is appearing on the face value, then it would be a stereotype. Did you get the point? Is that very clear for everyone? Is it making sense? Clear hai? Okay. Next. Such attitudes are likely to change. Such attitudes are likely to change in situation where it becomes difficult, for the attitude holder, to continue with the existing attitude, where it becomes difficult for the attitude holder to continue with his existing attitude, In such situation, attitude holder has no option. In such situation, attitude holder has no option but to change their attitude in order to establish more logical understanding. In order to establish more logical understanding. Okay, I'll repeat. In such situation, attitude holder has no option but to change their attitude in order to establish more logical understanding. You have a certain attitude. Okay. Let us say you believed, you had an attitude, prejudice भी कह सकते हैं, you had an attitude that all African nationals are lawless people, because that is how we've been brought up. चाहे उनका projection in cinema, that in every cinema, in every gang there would be an African national who would be a goon, right? So this is how they have been projected. Even in the society also, the large scale understanding is they are the drug peddlers, drug addicts, they are the lawless people, morally corrupt people. So that's a stereotype. No, because you cannot generalize that, right? You have not come across all the African nationals and not all of them are behaving in the same manner. Anyway, that was your attitude, and that attitude you have developed in order to understand the reality better. And what was the reality? You saw that in every Bollywood cinema they have been projected like this, and every time we say that cinema is based on social realities. So in order to understand this complexity, you build an attitude that these African nationals are morally corrupt people. But then you came across an African national, and when you were in dire need, the person helped you, right? So initially you were scared of him because you thought that he's a morally corrupt person, a lawless person, but then you realized that the person actually helped you, where even your own countrymen did not help you, but that person helped you. But then you thought that maybe he's one exception. I have provided you the counter evidence, but even then you haven't changed your attitude because you thought that maybe that person is an exception. Otherwise, they are lawless people only. Then you went to a university where no one was talking to you, but it was only those there were 2 African national students who were interacting with you. But even then you didn't talk to them because you have that attitude. So there was a student exchange program. And in that student exchange program, you were sent to one of those African countries as a part of that student exchange program, and where you were largely surrounded by African students. And you realized that in your own country, you were never nice to them. But when you went to their country, they were extremely nice to you. They were very welcoming. They helped you in all your projects and everything. There was some issues with the language barrier were existing, but even then they helped you. So I provided you the counter information, not once, not twice, but on a sustainable basis. Now it has become difficult for you to hold your attitude, which was that these people are morally corrupt people. So it has become very difficult for you to continue with that attitude of yours, because time and again on a sustainable basis, I am providing you counter information which is challenging this attitude of yours. So ultimately, you will have no other option but to change your attitude. Is that clear? ये एग्जाम्पल मैंने इसलिए दिया क्योंकि ये कॉन्ट्रोवर्शियल नहीं है. मैं आपको और भी एग्जाम्पल्स दे सकती हूं. इज दैट वेरी क्लियर? इज दैट वेरी क्लियर? कैसे? पर्सनल मत होना. कुछ हो रहा है, ठीक है, काउंटर इंफॉर्मेशन, यू आर वेरी पॉजिटिवली डिस्पोज्ड, लेट अस से टुवर्ड्स XYZ पॉलिटिकल पार्टी, ठीक है. It is serving some knowledge for you that this particular party, if comes to power or remain in power, India will become a superpower. You have developed this. It might not be based on any verifiable fact, but then you have developed this attitude. I am providing you continuously, time after time, I am providing you counter information that see, this political party, the GDP has declined, per capita income has declined, unemployment has increased, whatever, blah, 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 you know it better. But even then you are not ready to change your attitude. And I am not providing you counter information once, twice. For past 6-7 years, continuously we have been providing you counter informations to change your attitude. But even then you are not changing your attitude. Why? Reason, ऐसा नहीं है कि आप कर लोगे, मैं बताती हूँ ना reason क्या है. Because there are 2 problems. One, you have justification available. And second, selective perception and understanding. हम वही सुनेंगे जो हम सुनना चाहते हैं. हम फॉलोअर हैं तो हम हैं. So there is a problem of selective understanding and perception. And second, you have justification available for everything. How the justification is available for everything? Arey, for 70 years this XYZ party has ruled. So let us give them also some years, no? 20-25 years. Without even realizing, पहले 5 साल में तो लुट गए हम. I'm sorry, but I am just giving you an example to make you understand what I'm trying to convey. This particular example you're not supposed to write in the exam. I'm just telling you that sometimes when continuously I'm providing, वो African national वाला exam में लिख लेना, continuously I'm providing you counter information to challenge your existing attitude. But even then you are not ready to change your attitude. Then there are 2 issues. One, you have justification available for everything, and second, selective understanding and perception. हम वही सुनेंगे जो हम सुनना चाहते हैं. For example, many a times students come up to us to ask for the feedback or to ask us for the strategy, how we are supposed to prepare. So before that, obviously they tell us what they have planned. So many a time students do interact with us. Ma'am, we have thought, I'll do this, I'll do that. This is how I'm going to do it. This is how I'm going to do it. And I am telling, if I have to change something, I am telling them a counter. Nahin, this particular attitude will not work. You should do it like this. This shouldn't be done. These areas have, no, ma'am, but I have planned it to do it like this. So twice, thrice, I'll make an effort to make you understand कि नहीं, this is not how it is supposed to be done. This is how it is supposed to be done. But then you have already made it in your mind that you are going to approach it in a certain manner. फिर हम क्या करते हैं? बिल्कुल सही सोच रहे हो. This is how only it has to be done. क्यों माथा पच्ची करें? Why will I use my brain when I know you are not ready to listen? कहते हैं ना, भैंस के आगे बीन बजाने से कुछ नहीं होता है. So then we'll give up. Because no matter how much counter attitudinal information we are providing, you are just not ready to listen. Because there is selective understanding and perception. ये मैंने आपको सिर्फ आपकी भाषा में इसलिए समझाया कि maybe you are able to relate it. When you get the feedback, you become defensive. I wrote this point because I was thinking that. Whatever you were thinking, it was not being conveyed to me. If I'm giving you a feedback, you need to listen to that, right? Don't take it personally. I'm just giving you an example that maybe you are able to relate it. Maybe you have prepared a certain timetable, but I know that I have committed the same error during my attempts. I know this is not going to work. Because I remember one of you only wrote, that Chanakya wrote, that our life is too small to learn from our own experiences. तो जब हम अपनी गलती से बताते हैं तो बच्चे आप सुनते नहीं हो ना फिर. I'm telling you, don't get into the detailings unnecessarily. इधर का concept उधर मत apply करो. इतना तो UPSC पूछेगी नहीं. और एक सब्जेक्ट नहीं, आपको कितने सारे सब्जेक्ट्स करने हैं. You don't have to become a specialist in ethics or society or history or polity. You just need to clear this exam. But आप सुनते नहीं हो हमारी बात. तो फिर हम क्या कहते हैं? बिंगो, जो सोच रहे हो एकदम सही सोच रहे हो. This is how it is supposed to be prepared. Did you understand my point? Is that very clear? नहीं अनुतोष. I said this because this is how it has been said. ठीक है. चलो लिखे. लिखो. Write down. Despite evidences, okay, on a serious note, write that African national wala example in the exam if it comes. I love this, Ashutosh. When the shopkeeper finally tells you whatever you are choosing is right, because he's actually telling you that this is not going to work, but then you're not ready to listen. So finally whatever you are there to purchase, he'll say, "Arey, this is the best choice." I like that. Anyway, by the way, this attitude, this need function, knowledge function, this is also used in your marketing. So ऐसे ही आप attitude of your customers को tackle करते हो. Write down. Despite evidences, attitude does not change. Despite evidences, attitude does not change due to हाय तरुणा, अरे बाबा रे, ये क्या कर दिया तुमने. बच्चे वैल्यू को ही तो जब ऑब्जेक्ट पे लगाएंगे तो वो एटीट्यूड बन जाएगा. यहां पे ऑब्जेक्ट आंसर राइटिंग है, ऑब्जेक्ट यूपीएससी एग्जाम है जब आप अप्लाई कर रहे हो. ऑब्जेक्ट पॉलिटिकल पार्टी है, ऑब्जेक्ट कैरिज्मेटिक लीडर है. कैसी बात करती तरुणा. ऑब्जेक्ट है तभी तो एटीट्यूड बन रहा है. वैल्यू, बिलीव, व्हेन अप्लाइड टू एन ऑब्जेक्ट बिकम्स द एटीट्यूड. डैम. डिस्पाइट एविडेंसेस, attitude does not change due to selective perception and interpretation. And second, availability of some justification. Despite evidences, attitude does not change due to selective perception and interpretation. Availability of some justification. Everyone knows smoking is injurious to health. But even then, you continue to smoke. We are trying to provide you counter evidences. Now on the smoking cigarette packets also, 85% is the pictorial representation, which shows the picture of mouth cancer and everything, which is telling you smoking is injurious to health. Every now and then we are providing you the data where there are a lot of people dying everywhere, every year because of this smoking. And despite that you continue because you have justification. My grandfather also used to smoke. He survived till 80 years. I don't intend to survive more than 80 years. Did you get the point? So when you have justification, then none of the counter information with respect to the attitude will ever give you the desired result. Having said that, one should not be pessimistic. Write down. Hence, with availability of counter information and sustained availability and with availability of counter information, comma, its sustain availability, its sustain availability, it will lead to beginning of internalization process. It will lead to beginning of internalization process. It will lead to beginning of internalization process. See, at the end of it, when I'm ending this thing with you, I will tell you how to change the attitude. I will give you the reason. I will actually tell you how to write the answer. Why do we discuss these functions in detail is that there is a specific topic in your syllabus. So there might be a direct question that what are the functions of attitude? And in that scenario, or they can ask you a specific function of attitude and then you have to write a 10 marker because it is given in your syllabus. So we take each of them in detailing. Ultimately, if today itself only, I will tell you at the end that how the attitude needs to be changed. मतलब how can you change it? ठीक है? Is that very clear? यहां तक क्लियर है? स्मोकिंग एग्जाम्पल दे सकते हो, अफ्रीकन नेशनल्स का एग्जाम्पल दे सकते हो, गर्ल्स वेदर गुड विथ साइंसेज और मैथमेटिक्स और नॉट, दैट एग्जाम्पल कैन बी गिवन. नेक्स्ट एंड द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट, which most of us have doubt with, that when we say someone has an attitude or why attitude is taken as synonymous to ego, write down ego defensive function. Next, ego defensive. Ma'am, sometimes we felt, sometimes we felt if someone is offering us even rational advice, we are not ready because we feel deprived to accept us because it is against our perception. Ha, Ashutosh, it does happen because we have already developed a certain perception. That is why we say right from the beginning, a very comprehensive understanding should be there. We should be a person who is open to change. The problem is, and it's not about the orthodox or the traditional people, even today, you, me, we are very rigid. It is very difficult for us to change. We have set patterns, this is how we should move without even realizing. I'll tell you something. I'll give you my example, that would be better. Till 2009, UPSC style of asking the question was very different. From 2010 onwards, there was a lot of focus. In fact, I would not say 2010. Actually, it started from 2008 only. I did not realize 2010 was my first attempt. So it all started from 2008 only, that they started giving a lot of emphasis on the current affairs. And the static portion was not asked much. But I did not realize that. I thought that since my seniors told me, and this is how I have perceived UPSC, that you have to be good with history, modern history, you have to be good with geography, you have to be good with polity, and there are standard books for that, and you have to read those standard books and you have to do it well, and you just have to go and give the exam. I did not focus on newspaper reading. I did not realize that the pattern is undergoing a change. If it has not completely changed, it is in the process of changing. I did not realize. My friends tried to give me that advice that Smriti, you need to change your pedagogy. Studying the static portion only will not help you. I did not take that advice because I already had the perception. अरे इनको किताबें पढ़नी नहीं है, ये बस न्यूज़पेपर लेकर बैठे रहते हैं, इनको कुछ नहीं करना है. न्यूज़पेपर लो, उस पे चर्चा करते रहो. So I was rigid. I was not ready. They were providing me informations. I was not ready to do it. So it happens. So right from the beginning, first of all, you should not have false pride in your achievements, because once you have achieved, that's in the past. Think about what to achieve tomorrow, not what you have achieved in your past. We have a problem. We keep on hanging on to our achievements of the past. I have studied from IIT, I have studied from IIM, or I was a topper in my school. हो गया ना, खत्म हो गया. I keep on remembering Delhi University gold medalist. आज सिर्फ आपको बताने के काम आता है और वो किसी काम नहीं आता है. कल को मैं अपने बच्चों को बताऊंगी. So that is the only purpose which it serves, to tell them. So stop. So that was a false pride. So that was one of the reason why you were rigid and you did not change. So ये value system में गड़बड़ थी यार. We should be open to changes. We should be a good listener. That is the social skill. ठीक है? Next, ego defensive, the most important function of attitude, and this is what will solve all your doubts that you had till now. Write down. Attitude helps us. Attitude, yes, absolutely, Radhika, yes. Absolutely, it is because of socialization. Absolutely. Attitude helps us to enhance our self-esteem. Attitude helps us. Yes, Venkat, yes. It depends upon not only primary socialization, primary is the most important, but all forms of socialization. Matlab every stage of socialization. No, Shivam, I'm still very proud of myself. But anyway, thank you for saying this, but I'm still very proud of myself. मुझे बहुत अच्छी फीलिंग आती है जब बच्चे मतलब जब रैंक होल्डर्स आते हैं, मुझे बहुत चिल फीलिंग आती है और मुझे बहुत अच्छी फीलिंग आती है जब तुम लोग इतनी अच्छी अच्छी बातें यहाँ पे लिख देते हो. तो आई एम वेरी हैप्पी, बट आई एम जनरली टेलिंग यू कि वो जो एक फॉल्स प्राइड था, दैट शुड नॉट बी देयर. I am happy, I'm very content in whatever I'm doing. Okay, so that's not the issue. The issue here is that one should not have false pride. One should stop basking in the glory of their past achievement. Try it. If you have achieved in past, good. Now keep a focus what you have to do next. Right? Think about next achievements. That is my concern. Okay? बिल्कुल, absolutely. You can use your ethics in society content and examples in marketing. Absolutely. किसने बोला है? Tanushree. Yes. Right. Attitude helps us to enhance our self-esteem and defend us against the various arrows, tir, various arrows of life. Attitude helps to enhance our self-esteem and defend us against the various arrows of life. Full stop. Next. Prejudiced attitude are often used as a crutch. बैसाखी जो होता है ना, crutch. So prejudiced attitude are often used as a crutch to boost भी लिख सकते हो, to bolster or boost the self-esteem of the attitude holder. The self-esteem of the attitude holder. Next. Attitude helps us to maintain our self-esteem Sanket, I'm answering this only. Attitude helps us to maintain our self-esteem in the moment of embarrassment. Full stop. It protects us. Give me 5 minutes, Sanket. It protects us from acknowledging the truth about our own self. It protects us from acknowledging the truth about our own self. Full stop. These defenses are more used by those who are insecure and anxious. These defenses are used more by those who are insecure and anxious. Full stop. Who are insecure and anxious. Full stop. Very difficult to change. Next point. Very difficult to change these kind of attitude, very difficult to change these kind of attitude, as it stems from, very difficult to change these kind of attitude as it stems from individual's personality, as it stems from individual's personality. Full stop. These are held unconsciously. These are held unconsciously. These are held unconsciously. यहाँ तक लिखा. Now let me just first answer Sanket's question. Sanket, see, let us talk about poor people, right? You've asked about them. Lower caste, lower class, whichever example. Upper caste was using caste because it was having or serving the need of hegemonizing their status in the society. Similarly, upper class, they have a very positive attitude towards corruption or misappropriation of funds or serving their vested selfish interest. Why? Because it helps them maximizing their economic rewards. तो इन दोनों ने तो अपने need function की वजह से एक certain attitude hold किया हुआ है. ठीक है. Now, why a poor person has this attitude? Why it is there, or even the lower caste person? Because it helps them to have or to understand the complex realities of life and how it helps them understand. Many a times they are also worshipping God, right? Everyone worships God, right? Those who believe in God. I'm just giving you an example. So the poor people, when they are worshipping God, and even then they have been discriminated, even if then they are poor, they don't have basic necessities of the life, then how do they justify? They have a positive attitude towards this caste. They are positively oriented even towards the government. And what they blame? They blame their karma. So which knowledge? The knowledge about past birth, the knowledge about the karma theory, that might not be based on verifiable facts, but at least that is helping them understanding these complexities, that on one hand your constitution is talking about equality, no one shall be discriminated on the grounds of sex, gender, religion, caste, class, but even then stratification is existing in the society. How would you justify that? So then you have developed a knowledge function, that attitude, that it's not their fault, it is our karma that we are born into this particular caste. It is God's instruction. It is our destiny. Maybe we have done something wrong in the past karma, so it is the retribution of past karma. Pichle janam ke karma. In English, retribution of past karma, from which there is no respite. So that ideology, that philosophy helps you to understand the complex reality of the society. Sanket, did you get my point? You wanted to ask now how you explain this. So this is how you explain your attitude. Your attitude is based on this understanding, retribution of past karma, from where there is no respite. And that is why you don't question. Even that particular attitude is not serving your interest. Even then you are holding that attitude because it helps you to justify this understanding. So knowledge function serve kar raha hai. Ek second, I'll just take three questions. Ma'am, some people take pride in being egoistic. So in that case, how can we say this attitude is held unconsciously? शुरुआत में ऋतुश्री, it is held unconsciously. It develops unconsciously and then you justify it. That's it. Because when you are holding, आपको पता भी नहीं चलता है, you have developed that attitude. Because the problem was there in the personality. I'll explain, let me just finish. I'll just get back to this, Ritushri. See, now what happens is that, how can you start with it? This is known as a scapegoat view also. It is helping you to protect your self-esteem. So now you don't want to feel the embarrassment. You want to free yourself from any kind of guilt, any kind of embarrassment. You want to protect your self-esteem. So around yourself, you have created a shield of ego defensive attitude, which will help you to protect your self-esteem, which will help you protect your self-image, which will help you to protect yourself in the moments of embarrassment. For example, in your school life, you had some embarrassing incident in some of the PT classes. वो नहीं होता है physical education class, some games period होता था हमारे यहाँ, बाद में लोग उसे physical education कहने लग गए. तो physical education class में there was some moment of embarrassment. So that you had to protect yourself from that embarrassing situation. As a result, you have built an ego defensive attitude, a negative attitude to all the sports activities. You said, please, people who indulge in sports are those who are not interested in academics. I am very much pro academics. I'm not interested in sports. You developed a false attitude around yourself, an ego defensive attitude, a defensive attitude which will help you protect your ego, your self-esteem, your image. Is that very clear? So you developed a negative attitude for all the sports activities and the people who are good with athletics or sports. Why? Because that moment of embarrassment, you don't want to recall that. You want to preserve your image. You want to save yourself from that embarrassment. As a result, you distanced yourself and you developed an attitude around yourself. Is that clear? This is how it works. Are we clear on this? Is this example clear? I'll give you more example, but is this example clear? Okay. So in order to preserve your false pride when you do that, for example, there has been many incidences of domestic violence, and the domestic violence in the recent years have significantly increased. Now I'm giving you a situation. A person goes to the office, is working, he's been ridiculed by the boss, the superior, and he could not say anything to him. Obviously he's at the subordinate position. So he's being ridiculed, right? So his self-esteem has been lost at the workplace. And he cannot question the superior because obviously there's a fear of losing the job. So when he comes back home, there is all pent up emotion. I am not justifying. I am giving you that why that ego defensive attitude exists. Now you have developed an ego defensive attitude around yourself. You start maintaining a power distance from your children. You start having a superior attitude towards your wife. Why? Why you went out your frustration on your wife? Because you wanted to protect your self-esteem, which has been lost at the workplace. Now here the problem is in your personality. Maybe you have been ridiculed at your workplace because you were not good with your work. Maybe you are not skilled. Maybe you don't, and if you are falsely implicated, you've been falsely accused, then you don't have the courage to question your superior. You don't have the faith in your own skills. So you could not do that there. So in order to face yourself, in order to reduce your guilt, in order to save yourself from the embarrassment in your own eyes, you wanted to protect your self-image. So you wanted to establish the self-esteem over others. And who are there in family? Your children and your wife. So you have vented out all your pent-up emotions on them. Incidences of domestic violence and child physical abuse. The child physical abuse in the family is rising in this uncertainty period. Why? Because you want some agencies to vent out your frustration. So ego defensive attitude. मैं घर का मुखिया हूँ. I am the head of the family. So the child also has to listen to me. The wife also has to listen to me. Everyone in the family has to listen to me. Why? Because I'm the head of the family. कहीं और तो आपका attitude दिख नहीं रहा है. तो यहीं पे आपने एक ego defensive attitude create कर लिया. To save yourself from embarrassment. You start doing the blame game. Why have you not been able to perform well at your workplace? Because nobody allows you to work at home. Blame the other person. Why? Because you want to preserve your self-image. So you have created that ego defensive attitude. Sometimes when other person is showing you that superiority complex, that they are showing that they are superior to you, because somewhere deep down the line there are inferiority issues with them. A person who is genuinely better than you doesn't need to show you that he is better. Well, obviously it would be reflected in the actions, right? So a skilled person doesn't need to show you that, see, I am more skilled than you. It would be reflected in the actions. But a person who deliberately makes an effort to throw attitude at you, it's more because they have some inferiority issues in them. So they need to cover up those inferiority issues. They have to cover up those embarrassment issues by creating that ego defensive attitude around yourself. Why am I telling you? I'm giving you a lesson for life. Please understand. If someone ever shows you the attitude, just don't feel angry at that person. कि अरे ऐसे कैसे attitude? Pity that person. That maybe the person is suffering from some internal complexities, and that is why he or she is behaving in this manner. करने दो, करने दो. खुद के लिए कर रहे. Are you getting the point? Try to ignore. Don't ever be angry on these people. There are a lot of times when someone says something very rude, don't react. Maybe they are suffering from some internal complexities. Thinking this, you need to pity them, just let them go. Is that very clear? So this is how it works. So when you build an ego defensive attitude, that's more because you know your insecurities. You know there are some personality inadequacies and you need to cover up those. You want to protect yourself in the moment of embarrassment. अब क्या होता है जब आप अपने आप को प्रोटेक्ट करने की कोशिश करते हो, आप ब्लेम गेम करते हो. The international prices of petrol, diesel, the oil is declining. Even then, your petrol prices are increasing. Previous government is responsible for this. Why the education, health is not working today? Nehru is responsible for this. Why government, the public sector enterprises, you are supposed to sell them? What is wrong? Why we are going for privatization and everything? Nehru is responsible for it. Why we are taking, why are we consuming this air? Why are we breathing? Nehru is responsible for this. So for everything is Nehru responsible. Then what is the point of learning other prime ministers? Did you get my point? What I'm trying to tell you. When you're not able to justify, when you're not able to stand by your actions because you know you have been embarrassed, you put the blame game. Is that clear? Is that very clear? This is how it works. और ये मैं नहीं कह रही हूं, यही ego defensive attitude है. This is what is ego defensive attitude. Moral policing क्या होती है? अच्छा सच्ची सच्ची दिल पे एक बात बताना, दिल पे हाथ रख के. What is this moral policing specifically on 14th Feb? Are you understanding? Obviously those people don't have partners. If they would have their own love life, if they would have been happy in their personal love life, why would they interfere in someone else's life? They would have been celebrating those days. On a lighter note, what is moral policing? Why do you police other people on moral issues? Because you have some inadequacies. You want to preserve your self-esteem. अरे this is going against our tradition. What is your tradition? India का ना एक culture मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगता है. To kiss in public is crime, but to piss in public is absolutely fine. I don't understand this culture only in India. So to kiss in public is a crime in India, but to piss in public is absolutely fine. So moral policing on 14th February or for another days, what I'm trying to say is actually an example of ego defensive attitude. खुद का partner है नहीं, जलती है दूसरों को देख के. This is how it works. Is that very clear? Okay. Write down. Write down examples. The blame culture, examples, blame culture. तुषार आप प्लीज गूगल कर लेना, मुझे नहीं पता. आई विल नॉट आंसर दिस क्वेश्चन. Coordinators, just one confirmation. I did not name anyone, no, in the class. These were the random examples, no. Tushar, please don't force me. I will not name. You understand on your own self. ठीक है. Ripped jeans, oh God, हाँ. ये मैं actually सोच कर आई थी, मैं यही बोलूंगी. क्या है ये? कुछ भी. मतलब. Write down. Blame culture first. Act of moral policing. Act of moral policing. Incidences of domestic violence. कह सकते हैं प्रीतम? Yes. Incidences of domestic violence. Attitude. Have you ever thought grapes are sour? अंगूर खट्टे हैं. That's a perfect example of ego defensive. There was an important match. You lost that match. And then you said, I was anyway going to give up this game. I'm bored of the sports. Just because you lost the match. You did not have the courage to own the fact that you've lost. It's okay. Game में हार जीत चलती रहती है. Accept the fact that you've lost. It's okay to lose. Failures are the stepping stone to success. But then to say that you were never interested in the sports and anyway you were going to give up that sport. So that is nothing but grapes are sour. That is the problem of ego defensive attitude. What if tomorrow I say I never wanted to be an IAS officer? I always wanted to teach in Vision IAS. When I was a kid, I dreamt that there would be an institute called Vision IAS and I will be teaching there. Hogwash, no? I always wanted to be an IAS. When I didn't then I came here, and then later I started enjoying. That's another side of the story. But the reality is I cannot say that I never wanted to be an administrative officer just because I did not clear it. Maybe later, after becoming the part of administration, what would have been the future course of action, no one knows. But as of now, I cannot say that I didn't want to be IAS officer. ठीक है, so did you get my point? So जब ना कुछ करो तो फिर अंगूर खट्टे हैं वाली बात है. Grapes are sour when you don't achieve. That is exact expression of ego defensive attitude. And the problem is not the attitude object. If someone is rude to you, the reason is not you. The reason is the personality inadequacy of the person. Maybe person is feeling some inferiority from you. Are you getting the point? Why do upper caste people unnecessarily have that? अब तुम लोग भी कहोगे मैं upper caste क्यों बोल रही हूँ? क्योंकि एक reason है, बताती हूँ. Suppose करो because of reservation only. Reservation is just one aspect of it. Because of their efforts, everything, a lower caste person, a reserved category person has today become an IAS officer. And you, being the upper caste, having access to all the resources and everything, you still didn't manage to clear it, right? But then you will have, if you have that attitude, oh, ये तो reserved category से है, you are belittling the effort that the person has put to clear this exam. Why have you built that ego defensive attitude? Oh, the person has cleared because of reservation. The problem is not the person. The problem is that you have the problem, your personality inadequacies, inferiority complex. Reservation was just a means. Ultimately, the person has put in effort to clear that exam. So you cannot belittle the effort of the other person by saying just because of reservation he has cleared. As if अगर तुमको reservation मिले तो तुम कल ही clear कर लोगे इस exam को. ऐसा नहीं होता है. Did you get my point? Right now. Since this attitude develops from, the personality issues rather than the attitude object, hence just by providing counter-attitudinal information, would not be sufficient to bring about an attitudinal change. See, in the knowledge case, in the need function case, I told you how to bring about changes. Now here the problem is not the attitude object. So if I'm providing you counter-attitudinal information, it will not serve any purpose because the problem is in your own personality. So I have to bring about changes in your personality. Right? Hence, the need of the hour is to provide an environment in which individual feels truly valued, as a person, and therefore is ready to lower his defenses, ego defensive attitude है ना, to defend yourself. So lower his defenses and explore their innermost feelings. Full stop. Next. Such exploration will require the individual such exploration will require the individual to experience empathy, and unconditional positive regards from the change agent. I'll explain. Such exploration will require the individual to experience empathy and unconditional positive regards from the change agent. Unconditional positive regards from the change agent. Unconditional positive regards is irrespective of your status, your gender, your class, your religion, anything. You will be respected. You will be valued. So I have to give you that positive environment. मैं आपको एक छोटी सी बात बताती हूँ, मतलब you all must have experienced, and if not then it's very good. If not personally then you might have seen. School में क्या होता है, if there are students who are not performing well, right? So knowingly, unknowingly we have this tendency of isolating. You will not do that. Your teachers will say, and specifically your parents, and in the parent teacher meeting they would be complaining, आजकल इसने उससे दोस्ती कर रखी है, वो बिल्कुल भी पढ़ाई में अच्छा नहीं है. This is how the socialization happens. If someone is not good with studies, don't you think it is the responsibility of the friends to help each other? What is universal brotherhood? What is this caring, sharing kind of values which so-called institutions needs to talk about? And then you make sure, there are a lot of good teachers also who used to spread this message that you have to help each other, but maximum areas we have been seeing that you only tend to focus on good students because you know that the result would be there, their output would be there. You don't want to put in efforts to improve the scores or the understanding of not so good students in class. And then you make sure, even parents say that you're not supposed to talk to this person, he's not good with scores. You have to be friends with this person because he's good with studies, or he belongs to the upper status, or he belongs to certain caste or certain religion. The first thing when you go back home and you say you've made new friends, acha, what's the name of the friend? You might not have experienced it, very good. What's the name of the friend? So and so. Full name? Acha, iska hai? Nahi, inse dosti mat rakho. This is how it works. So when there would be unconditional positive regard, automatically there would not be any personality inadequacies. Is that clear? Okay? Write down. When the target group is able to get a psychological climate of this nature, the ego defensive attitude goes away. Ego defensive attitude goes away. What is son of soil policy? What is son of soil policy? It's an example of ego defensive attitude. What is violence against women? Ego defensive attitude. Right? Son of soil policy, remember, no? The fight between the natives and the migrants. I think I gave you the example of exodus of Punjabi, Sikh people from Khasi area. I think so I've given this example. I don't remember if I have given that example before or not. But do you understand son of soil? Maharashtra for Marathis. So that is nothing but an example of ego defensive attitude. You know that you've not been able to fetch jobs because you don't have skills. Let us accept that. Right? Because private sector doesn't give you jobs on the basis of, acha, where do you belong to? Acha, you're from UP and Bihar. I've heard these are very hardworking people. I'll give you the job. No matter whether you have skills or not. Obviously, they won't do that now. So if they are getting jobs, if they are able to do well in their businesses, that's not because of the region, or that's not because the migrants have taken your job. You've not been able to get the job because you are lacking the skills. So you need to work on your capabilities. Do not put the blame on others for your inefficiencies in life. Why have you not been able to do well? You have n number of reasons available. Except one which is actually the reason, that is you haven't worked hard. Accept the reason that you haven't had the requisite skills. So did you get the point? That ego defensive attitude, that is what we often mistake. कोई हमें attitude दिखा रहा है, तो that attitude दिखाना is ego defensive. Is that clear? चलो. I hope you've understood the examples. Scapegoating, domestic violence, son of soil, ठीक है, moral policing, blame culture, grapes are sour. Too many examples I've given. You can write anything in exam. Last. I know break would be appreciated, but I'll leave you at 4 o'clock. Let's make it this way ना, मुझे ना break पे जाके मेरा ना वो break हो जाता है. Change agent खुशी, change agent के बाद बताऊं कहाँ था यार? Positive regards from the change agent. So when the target group is able to get the psychological climate of this nature, ego defensive attitude will go away. When the target group is able to get a psychological climate of this nature, ego defensive attitude will go away. ठीक है? I'll leave you at 4. Why unnecessary extend the class till 4:30? I'll leave you at 4, but just let me continue. Value expressive function. Value expressive function. Value expressive function. See, there is a difference between ego defensive and value expressive. Ego defensive protects your self-esteem, and value expressive is expressing your value system. Whatever values, whatever beliefs that you stand for is expressed by means of your attitude. So if you are holding a certain attitude, it is also helping you to express your values. Is that very clear? Write down. This function promotes your self-esteem. This function promotes your self-esteem. Now, since Ashish, you have mentioned that, I'll just make a reference here. There is a general perception, if a person is very smart, very good to carry himself, a very vibrant personality, then the person would not be good with studies. And this stereotype specifically exists in context of girls. That if girls is too much into fashion, they are too much taking care of themselves. So beauty with brains doesn't go like way. So if they are beautiful, that means they don't have brains. This year's UPSC result has broken that myth also. I hope you are getting my point, what I'm trying to convey. The finalist of a beauty pageant has made it to the list in the very first attempt. So stop stereotyping. And why do you do that? Because you are building an ego defensive attitude. You're not very okay with the fact that the other person is so good in having such a great personality, outgoing personality, beautiful looking, very nicely carrying themselves. So you just say, this is all beauty. They have no brains. So you have created that attitude. But when you've seen that myth has already been broken, so beauty does go with brains. So if a guy is good with the physical appearances, the guy doesn't mean that they don't have brains. I am not gender stereotyping, but often it is used for girls, but I'm equally using for boys also. So boys can be good with their physical appearance, they can be cautious about how do they look, and they can take care of themselves, they can gym and everything, yet they can be good with so-called competitive exams. Okay? Chalo. Value expressive functions. It helps to promote your self-esteem. It helps to promote your self-esteem. Full stop. It helps a person in establishing his identity. It helps a person establishing his identity, which conveys to himself and others the kind of person he is, which conveys to himself and others the kind of person he is. The kind of person he is. He or she is. Full stop. It helps us in the exercise of impression management. It helps us in the exercise of impression management. Impression management. Full stop. These are also difficult to change. These are also difficult to change as they are deeply entrenched, as they are deeply entrenched in individual's personality, as they are deeply entrenched in individual's personality. Full stop. Change may occur if individual values have changed, if individual values have changed. Change may occur if individual values have changed, or new attitude will express the underlying values better, or new attitude will express the underlying values better. Right, I'll explain everything. It helps us communicate, next point, it helps us communicate who we are. It helps us communicate who we are and makes us feel good. Makes us feel good because we have asserted our identity. Because we have asserted our identity. Full stop. It makes us feel good because we have asserted our identity. Full stop. The expression of attitude can also be, non-verbal in nature. Expression of attitude can also be non-verbal in nature. It can also be non-verbal in nature. Remember quotations on your t-shirts. So through that quotes you are expressing what your values, your belief systems or your ideologies are. So that the attitude is getting expressed in a non-verbal manner, and it makes you feel good because in a way it helps you asserting your identity, your status updates. Why do we do that? We do that because we want to tell the other person, we want to tell the world that these are the value systems for which we stand for, right? So this is value expressive attitude. Sometimes this kind of attitude also helps you realize what kind of a person you are, and once you realize what kind of a person you are, this attitude also helps you to communicate to others what kind of a person you are. For example, let me give you another set of example. Feminism is a very misconstrued term. So years back, usually when I used to be asked, are you a feminist? So I actually didn't have an answer to it because first it's a misconstrued term. There are a lot of interpretation to what feminism actually is. But later when I started studying about feminism and I realized there is something called liberal feminism, there is something called radical feminism, there is something called Marxist feminism, there is something called black feminism. There are too many feminism ideologies which are existing. So even then I was not sure what kind of a feminist I am. But in a certain situation, when I was holding a certain attitude towards different practices, it actually helped me realize that I am a liberal feminist. And once I realized I'm a liberal feminist, then I actually communicated to others through my actions, through my attitude towards different things. Right? If I take a stand in a certain situation, it helps me realizing what kind of a feminist I am, and if I am a feminist, then I am also conveying it to others. Similarly, through your attitude in different situations, you realize whether you are a radical person or not, whether you are a conservatist person or not. And in case you are, once you realize, you want to communicate it to others, whatever your values are. So if this attitude has to undergo a change, you cannot change the attitude object, or you cannot provide a counter information, because that is not going to change my personality. So here either my value has to change, or I have to tell you another attitude which will express your value in a better manner. That's it. That is the value expressive function of your attitude. So write down, for example, you have a self-image. You have a self-image that you are a feminist or a conservative, feminist or conservative or radical, etc. Then you will cultivate an attitude, that will express these values in a better manner. You will cultivate an attitude that will express these values. That will express these values. That will express these values. बिल्कुल आशुतोष, बिल्कुल. Absolutely. That is why I say, I'll tell you at the end, barrier types, social ostracization के fear की वजह से आप express नहीं कर पाते हो, लेकिन वो कहीं ना कहीं express हो जाता है. Verbally नहीं होता तो not verbally हो जाता है. Is that clear? I have stopped expressing my values often in front of my social circles. There was a time when I used to openly express whatever is my ideology, whether it is with social aspects or political aspects or economic profile. I used to express that, but now I have stopped doing it, because even if I don't verbally express, non-verbally it is getting conveyed. So why to put in effort to verbally express? Did you get the point? Because in that situation at least you can protect yourself from social ostracization. Okay? So it does happen, it's okay. Okay? Is that very clear? Yes, you got the idea. Many of you have got the idea. Tushar, but did you understand value expressive? Tushar, did you get this? Value expressive now. Whatever is your value system, you cultivate an attitude which is going to express that value system better. Right? Whatever is your attitude. Whether your attitude is you are a traditional orthodox person, or you are pro-change, you are a revolutionary, you are a radical person who wants to bring about change in the system, or you are a status quoist, you are a patriarchal person or a feminist person, right? So whichever ideology in whichever capacity you are holding, you will develop an attitude which will convey your values better. Is that clear for everyone? Okay. So with this, the functions of attitude comes to an end. Board clean karaiye na. The next topic is, give the heading, attitude behavior consistency. Attitude behavior consistency. Absolutely, Radhika, we do that. Absolutely. And there is no harm in that. It's just that obviously if we stop doing that, then how will the change brought in the society? One should not be fearful. A man with courage makes the majority. That's a very famous saying. If each of us develops that courageous attitude, that is also a value. So if you, me, everyone is courageous, we would not be fearful from expressing our true values. We would not be fearful before questioning the retrograding or regressive norms of the society. And we have to keep questioning. Dissent is the highest form of patriotism. Keep questioning, otherwise the change will never be there in the society. So one should keep questioning. and there should not be any fear. अगर कोई existing social norm है जो गलत है, it needs to undergo a change. And all of us have to put in the effort. We cannot sit passively and just say इस देश का कुछ नहीं हो सकता. ऐसे तो नहीं चलेगा ना, right? But then you should have an emotional intelligence, which I'll teach you later, that where to use your emotions and in what capacity. Even if you have to express your ideas, then where it needs to be expressed. See, knowledge होना एक अलग चीज होती है और wisdom होना एक अलग चीज होती है. अगर आपको पता है कि where, in whichever place you have to express your opinion and ideas, that also one should learn. One should learn to manage their emotion, because the moment you have a belief, it will generate an emotion. And if you fail to control your emotions, it will backfire. So when I'm discussing emotional intelligence, I'll tell you that also. But Radhika, absolutely correct. Yes, that is the problem. ठीक है? चलो. Next. Topic डालो. I somehow like this idea of response portal. Actually, it makes the class very engaging, and I think it also gives you the platform to connect with each other. And to have engaging interaction. So attitude, behavior, consistency, we'll talk about background. And factors determining attitude, behavior, consistency. Individual, situation, attitude, strength. Individual, high on self-monitoring, low on self-monitoring. Situation, bandwagon effect, attitude as heuristic. I'm dictating, Rahul. I'm dictating attitude, behavior, consistency. I've divided in two parts. थोड़ा सा ये भी दिखा दीजिए ना. Background, and second I have written फैक्टर्स डिटरमाइनिंग एटीट्यूड बिहेवियर कंसिस्टेंसी. अब जूम कर दीजिए, वहीं पर बैकग्राउंड लिख लिया होगा सबने. Then under factors determining attitude, behavior, consistency, I have written individual, situation and attitude strength. Then individual, I have written high on self-monitoring, low on self-monitoring. Situation, bandwagon effect. I'll explain everything. Bandwagon effect and attitude as heuristic. Then attitude strength, relevance, specificity, how have one acquired the attitude, and attitude accessibility. Attitude accessibility. Accessibility. Clear है? ठीक, चलो एटलीस्ट बैकग्राउंड डिस्कस करते हैं. सी यू नीड, लिख लिया ना सबने? मैं स्टार्ट करूं? लिख लिया ना सबने? शुड आई स्टार्ट? ठीक, चलो. सी, why did I take this? Again, it is there in your syllabus, but let me give you the rationale that why we are discussing this is. See, I told you that attitude is a specific determinant of your behavior. As in, knowing the value, you cannot determine the behavior, but knowing the attitude, you will be able to determine the behavior. This is what I told you, and I said that you are going to be a future administrator. You remember the background we discussed in the previous class, and I told you if you know the attitude of the person, you will be able to understand the situation, predict their behavior, and as a result, you will be able to control the behavior. But now the challenge is not always attitude is consistent with the behavior. अब आप कहोगे फिर मैम ये पूरी राम कहानी सुनाई क्यों आपने? The point here is, fine, there are some areas where attitude might not be consistent with the behavior. So we will discuss that what are those areas where it is not consistent and what are the factors which determine the fact that whether your attitude will be consistent with your behavior or not. And if you know that, then again it would be easy for you to determine the behavior. Clear है? Remember, I already told you attitude is a specific determinant of behavior. याद आ रहा है ना? Values applied, tied with the object is the attitude. So knowing the attitude, you will be able to determine the behavior. I think you all know this much. ठीक है? So I'm giving you a background. Just try to understand. See these examples. If you despise cheating, if you have a negative attitude towards cheating, does not mean that you will never cheat. Does not mean you will never cheat. Similarly, if you worry about climate change, Acha, sorry, Rohit asked something. I'm so sorry, Rohit, I did not see that. And thank you, Bhuvan, thank you, Ayushi. So the next thing is, if you worry about climate change, does not mean that you will not drive a diesel car or you will not use AC. Are you getting the point? So here my attitude is not consistent with my behavior. If you despise corruption, does not mean that you will not have alliances with the corrupt people. So see, attitude is not consistent with the behavior. So now this myth was broken that attitude is always consistent with your behavior. And first time the myth was broken in 1930s. There was a study which was conducted, and that was known as Lapierre study. This was the person who conducted the study, and the name of the study was Lapierre study. 1930s की बात है. During that time US में there was lot of racial attitude towards Chinese people. So that was the large assumption that in US there is lot of racial attitude towards the Chinese people. So what this person Lapierre did was, he thought, I will have an extensive tour to US. He decided to travel approximately 10,000 kilometers, the long trip he planned. Along with him he took a Chinese couple, because he wanted to study this racial attitude which US people have towards Chinese people. So he conducted an extensive tour along with the Chinese couple, and he went to various restaurants, he went to various lodges, he went to various shopping places, he resided at so many different places, and everywhere what he saw was that this Chinese couple was welcomed. The Chinese couple did not faced any racial behavior. They were not being racially abused, they were not being discriminated. In fact, whatever restaurant, lodges, whatever hotel they were living at, and whatever shopping places they were visiting, everywhere these Chinese couple were welcomed. So when Lapierre came back, he thought that maybe this is just a rumor. There exists no racial attitude, because if there would have been any racial attitude, it would have been reflected in their behavior, but that did not happen. So 6 months later, he decided again to visit US with the same Chinese couple, and this time not with an intention to conduct some study. He just wanted to, he loved the place and there were some places he didn't visit. So he thought, and obviously Chinese couple ke saath dosti bhi ho gayi thi. So he thought that let's go together. So after 6 months, so he thought that he had visited certain hotels beforehand only. So he wanted to make reservations in those hotels beforehand. So he called up all those places where he visited everywhere. And to his surprise or shock, whatever, every hotel, every lodge which he has initially visited, they refused to make the reservation. And the reason was they didn't want to attend the Chinese people. So that time he realized that they did have a racial attitude. But when those Chinese couple were visiting those lodges, and there is something called the hospitality which has to be shown in those sectors, that customers have to be treated equally. So although their attitude was racial, but that did not reflect in their behavior. But when he was making an advance reservation, so they gave n number of excuses. They don't have place, and initially they were agreeing. The moment he said the reservation has to be made for 3 people and there is one Chinese couple, immediately all the lodges, every restaurant, wo achanak se book ho gaye. There were no place, and all of a sudden how did that happen? So then he realized not always attitude is consistent with the behavior. That depends upon the circumstances as well. That since they were in the hospitality sector and you already have the customer at your door, so obviously you cannot say no to them, right? You have to serve your economic interest also. But when given an opportunity that you can make that discretion, so your attitude was prevailing. So you did have the racial attitude. So that was the study which was conducted by Lapierre, and it's a very famous study as far as attitude is concerned, right? So likh lo. Lapierre study. Lapierre study. Give these 3 examples and after that you can write Lapierre study. It was to study the racial attitude towards Chinese couple in America. It was to study the racial attitude towards Chinese couple in America. The finding of the study was that attitude does not always match your behavior. The attitude does not always match your behavior. Is that clear? No Anand, no Ashutosh. Attitude is not there to mask your or real intention. It's just that attitude has not been reflected in your behavior. So actually it is the behavior which is acting as a mask for your real attitude, not your attitude. Attitude to wahi hai. What is not getting reflected is your behavior. So your real attitude is not getting reflected in your behavior. So here your behavior is acting as a mask. You want to have a negative attitude towards a certain people, but you know there is a law which is existing. So your attitude is not acting as a mask. Your behavior is acting as a mask on your real attitude. Is that clear? Is this clear? Is it clear for everyone? Okay. Next, there was another study which was conducted, and the study was conducted by Corey. The study was in 1937. It was in context of cheating. Very interesting study. So what Corey did was, the study was conducted with respect to cheating. You don't have to write in detail. It is for your understanding. आप बस इतना mention कर दोगे तो भी हो जाएगा. So what he did was, he asked the students of the class that what's your take on cheating. So everyone said that they despise cheating. So and actually they despised cheating. So he said that fine, the test would be conducted, and at the end of the last period, you will be doing a self-evaluation. It was a multiple true and false kind of a test. 10 questions were there, and you just have to write down the test and keep the test paper with you. In the last period, I will come and I will do the self-evaluation. I will give out the answers and you have to self-correct your paper and whatever the marks you have scored. Ye keh ke teacher left. In the break, what the teacher did, when no one was there in the class, he actually evaluated everyone's score and he made a data. He did not mention anything on their answers script, but he kept a data with him. He actually knew how much exactly the person has scored. So when in the last class he came back and he did the asked the students to did the self-evaluation, he told them the answer, whether it is true, false, whatever. So there were 2-3 students in the class who have not fared well, and he knew that because he has already taken the score. They have hardly scored 1 or 2 out of 10. But when he asked how many of you and what has been your score, so everyone was telling their score, but those 2-3 students, they lied, they cheated. They said the wrong score. Actually what they scored, they did not say that. So initially, if they had the intention to cheat, they could have done it initially only because they didn't know the answer. But when they saw that they are not performed well with the scores, then they cheated when they were asked to reveal their actual score. So the attitude was not there with respect to cheating, it was negative, but then that did not reflect in your behavior. Is that clear? So the study was conducted by Corey. Write down. According to his study, the cheating behavior वेदांत एक तरह से चीट ही तो कर रहे हो ना आप अपने टीचर को if you are lying to the teacher. It's already a study which is conducted. ठीक है. So obviously it is cheating with, obviously you're cheating your teacher, right? The teacher has relied on the fact that you will be doing a good, honest self-evaluation, but you didn't do that. So by means of lying, you are cheating your teacher. ठीक है. So what Corey said was, cheating behavior does not depend on the attitude towards the cheating. It does not depend on the attitude towards the cheating, but how poorly one has performed in the exams. How poorly one has performed in the exams. Cheating behavior does not depend on attitude towards cheating, but how poorly one has performed in the exams. Clear hai? That's what is Corey saying. Okay? Now I am giving you 2 more examples just to help you understand background. There are cases where attitude behavior consistency is existing. For example, let us say you are a person who has a very negative or a prejudice towards some religious minorities. Some XYZ religious minority, you have a prejudice and you are a landlord. So you made it clear that I will bear all the economic losses, but I will not give my house on rent to any family which is belonging to this religious minority. So here your attitude is consistent with the behavior. So attitude behavior consistency is there. You clearly said you have a prejudice, you have a negative attitude towards a particular religious minority, and you are a landlord. So you made it clear, no matter how many economic losses I will suffer, but under any given circumstances, I will not give my house on rent to a person or a family belonging to this particular religious minority. So whatever is my attitude, that is getting reflected in my behavior. I'm just giving you set of examples. So that is attitude behavior consistency. Clear? Example. The second is, although you despised corruption, but in the election you voted for the most corrupt person just because that person belonged to your community. So now you have two attitudes here. Attitude one, where you hate corruption. That's your attitude. You dislike corruption. On the other hand, there is another attitude that you want to promote the interest of your community. So can you see, in this situation you have two conflicting attitudes. So whichever attitude is dominating your thought process, that will be reflected in your behavior. I'm giving you different circumstances. One, there is attitude behavior consistency. Another example, you might have conflicting attitudes. On one hand, you hate corruption. Despite that, you voted for the most corrupt person in the coming elections. Why? Because he belonged to your community. So when you have two conflicting attitude, then whichever attitude is dominating your thought process, that will be reflected in your behavior. So with respect to attitude one, attitude behavior consistency does not exist, but with respect to attitude 2, attitude behavior consistency exists. So this can also be a situation. And third example is the Corey example, where attitude is not consistent with your behavior. Is that clear? Is it making sense for all these examples? Is that clear for everyone? Attitude behavior consistency, Venkat, means that whatever is your attitude, it is said that your behavior will be consistent with the attitude. But I'm giving you these different set of examples just to tell you this is not the actual situation. Sometimes your attitude is consistent with behavior. Example is this. Sometimes you have conflicting attitude. So whichever attitude is dominating, that will be reflected in behavior. And sometimes your attitude will not at all reflect in your behavior. An example is this. So different set of examples just to make you understand. Venkat, everyone has understood. I don't know what have you not understood in that. Attitude reflects behavior nahi hota hai. Behavior reflects your attitude. Attitude doesn't reflect your behavior. Behavior reflects your attitude. That is when it is said that attitude behavior consistency exists. If your behavior is not reflecting, आप लोग को एक sequence समझने का जरूरत है ना. Once you develop the attitude, the first process is developing the attitude and then it is the behavior. पहले थोड़ी ना behavior होता है. First is the attitude and then it is reflected in your behavior. So behavior reflects your attitude. But sometimes when behavior does not reflect your attitude, that means attitude is not consistent with your behavior. Is that very clear? Vedant, that we will explain. That we will explain later. We try to justify ourselves. We trivialize the issue. Cognitive dissonance hota hai. Hum baat karenge Vedant. We'll discuss about that later. I hope Venkat now you have understood. So on this note, we will conclude today's lecture. I'll continue with this tomorrow and tomorrow I'll start with social influence. Right? ठीक है? Is that very clear for everyone? I hope everyone understood whatever has been taught in the class today. ठीक है. Let me just see if I have a UPSC question for you. Just a sec, give me 1 minute. Write down. What factors affect the formation of person's attitude? What factors affect the formation of person's attitude towards a social problem? Towards a social problem. What factors affect the formation of person's attitude towards a social problem? Full stop. Why do there exist contrasting attitude about the caste system in our society? Why there exist contrasting attitudes about the caste system in our society? 10 marker. What factors affect the formation of person's attitude towards a social problem? And second, what contrasting attitude exists about the caste system in our society? In our society. 10 marker. It's a UPSC question. ठीक है? Tomorrow I'll give you more questions as I'm discussing. Try to write this. नहीं अभी तो आपके पास टाइम नहीं है. So just सोच लेना, just in your thought process what can be written. So on this note, officially we conclude the lecture, and as our notion, you can leave, but I'll give you 10 minutes. If you have any doubt, you can ask. ठीक है? So now any doubt related to ethics, or for that matter anything, you can ask anything. 10 minutes we will have a doubt clearing session, and officially I have concluded the lecture, so please go and relax, eat something and just freshen up yourself. ठीक है? बहुत पढ़ाई हो गई, अब जाओ ऐश करो. ठीक है? Now let me see the questions. What are gender appropriate values and heterosexual adjustment in context of role of father? एक सेकंड रुको भाई, एक एक करके पूछो ना प्लीज. एक सेकंड. Tushar, what are the gender appropriate values? See, gender appropriate values as in how a boy has to act with a girl, right? So gender appropriate values, because देखो कहीं ना कहीं gender stereotypes do exist in the society. So how boys are supposed to treat girls? You do not have to treat them as second class citizen. You should not have the patriarchal mindset. You should not dominate them. They are equal participant in the society. You should treat them at equal level. ठीक है? So gender appropriate behavior. And second, girls, they would be comfortable in the company of the opposite sex depending upon what kind of socialization is being provided by the father. If the father in himself is too strict, too patriarchal, has always maintained a power distance, has always been violent with your mother, then obviously that would be reflected in your interaction with the opposite sex. So a girl learns to make heterosexual adjustment depending upon the socialization provided by the father, and the boy learns to treat girls better depending upon the socialization by the father. If the boy has always seen the father, देखो या तो enlightenment हो जाए and he would decide not to replicate the wrong behavior shown by the father, तब तो अच्छी बात है. नहीं तो often it has been seen whatever socialization is being provided to you at the family level, the child does intend to replicate that. So gender appropriate behavior, how to treat girls in a better manner, is learned by a father, and a girl learns to make heterosexual adjustment, as in how comfortable will she be with the opposite sexes will also depend what kind of socialization and behavior she has seen with respect to her father. ठीक है. Possessiveness is a behavior. Rupinder, possessiveness is a behavior, right? And that can be due to insecurity. You become possessive of something because you have a desire, you get attached. Possessiveness is, I must say, extreme emotions that you reflect in your behavior. And that's more because you have too much attachment with a particular thing or a person or whatsoever. The desirability is very high. Emotional intelligence is missing. So possessiveness is an extreme form of behavior. नहीं तरुण, it is not necessarily to write the way forward if it is not asked. अब देखो इसी क्वेश्चन में 2 क्वेश्चन दे दिए और 10 मार्कर है, इसमें वे फॉरवर्ड लिखने का कोई सिचुएशन ही नहीं है. सो wherever it is not asked, way forward is not required. Is that very clear? ठीक है तरुण, it is not required. Reason being you will not have the scope. एक कंक्लूडिंग लाइन लिखनी होगी बस. ठीक है, that is why I am saying just look at this year's model answers which I have provided on the platform. You will get an idea. Everywhere there is no scope only to write the way forward. In fact, case studies हैं इसलिए that if you are in a situation, what will your course of action? तो जो भी way forward उन्हें पूछना होता है, they do end up asking you in the case studies. ठीक है. Karthik, that will happen. Your current attitude or behavior is shaped by your past experiences, past knowledge. And then, कहते हैं ना, hypothesis. Hypothesis is created based on existing facts. And then you have to keep testing those hypotheses based on current information. And if it found to be true, a hypothesis becomes a theory. But that theory is not valid for all time to come. Again, it has to be challenged with the respect to the coming facts and statistics. तो ऐसे ही होता है, जो करंट आपका बिहेवियर है दैट वुड बी शेप्ड बाय योर पास्ट एक्सपीरियंसेस, बट देन लुकिंग एट द रियलिटी यू विल अंडरस्टैंड वेदर योर बिहेवियर और योर एटीट्यूड नीड्स टू अंडरगो अ चेंज और नॉट. प्रति मनीष प्लीज ये देखो ना, ये ऐसे वाला इशू अभी भी आ रहा है. आस्क द ऐसे टीम हेड टू कॉन्टैक्ट मी. यस बच्चे, बायसनेस, कार्तिक हमने बोला ना, प्रेजुडिस क्या होता है? इट्स अ बायसनेस, राइट? यस, इट कैन बी. गुड रचना, आई एम सो प्राउड ऑफ यू. एक सेकेंड, अंकुर का क्या क्वेश्चन है? सब लोग बोल रहे हैं अंकुर का क्वेश्चन आंसर करो. अंकुर प्लीज बच्चे एक बार और लिख दो. Ma'am, I have changed my optional from anthro to sociology. Could you please help me suggest the best coaching for both the paper? What will I suggest here? अरे यार, यार कैसी बातें कर रहे हो? अब मैं अपने प्लेटफॉर्म पे आकर बोलूं यार किसी और की कोचिंग ज्वाइन कर लो? पिटवा दो यार तुम लोग तो बस. मतलब we'll talk about it. ठीक है. यार देखो, पर्सनली तो इस वक्त मैं यही बोलूंगी कि लेट्स टॉक अबाउट सोशियोलॉजी लेटर. एनीथिंग एल्स? एनीथिंग अपार्ट फ्रॉम सोशियोलॉजी? Nikhil, you are a final year student and will be giving this year's attempt. See Nikhil, one thing I believe, one thing is for sure that one knows their capability the best, to what extent you are prepared, right? And ऐसा कुछ नहीं है that you have to very specifically drop a year or something like this. I have seen a lot of students who have prepared along with their preparation and they have done well, they have cleared the exam. If you are prepared to write your mains, as in if like 60% of your mains is prepared, then you should go for this year's attempt. Why am I saying this is, even if you manage to clear prelims and if you're not prepared for your mains, your effort will go waste, right? Because even if you manage to clear mains also, the score would be a challenge. So it all depends to what extent you are prepared with your optional. If your first paper of optional is covered, if approximately 60% of main specific topics are covered, then you can go for this year's attempt. No need to specifically drop. And although time is at your end and 6 attempts हैं, तो मैं ये नहीं कह रही कि one should wait till 6 attempts, नहीं, आप ये एग्जाम दे सकते हो, but do not decide as of now whether you have to drop or not. That was my approach. Prepare as if you are writing this year's attempt, because altogether एक नया जोश होगा. Before the exam, take your final call. If you think you are well prepared, go ahead for it. And in case there is some confusion somewhere, because you still have time at your end, so you can take the call that whether you have to write or not. But as of now, your mindset should be you are writing this year's attempt. Otherwise, you will automatically become lethargic. You will automatically become, you will be on back foot while preparing. Do not do that mistake. Trust me. So prepare with the intention that you are writing this year's prelims examination. You will see a different vigor altogether in your efforts. And that I have personally experienced. You should have the clarity that you're giving this year's exam. बाद में देखेंगे, एग्जाम के एक हफ्ते पहले मुझसे पूछना क्या करना है. पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन, यू आर इन फाइन एज इन, नहीं यार मैं तो पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन के साथ किया था, मतलब आई डोंट थिंक. निखिल, यू हैव टू बी स्लाइटली मोर क्लियर. ठीक है अंकुर, रिप्लाई कर, मुझे मेल कर दो. आई विल आंसर अंकुर्स क्वेश्चन ऑन मेल. अब एथिक्स का एक दो देख लेने दो. Attitude distance at personal level or at a, how do we correct these attitude behavior distance at personal? Nikhil, this I'll tell you tomorrow. I'll tell you tomorrow. Pakka. Tomorrow I'm going to discuss that. If you are not prepared with your optional, then do not write this year's exam. If you're not prepared for your optional. But इतने सारे सवाल पूछोगे मैं जवाब नहीं दे पाऊंगी एक एक करके, क्योंकि वे बहुत रैंडम जवाब आ जाएंगे. ऐसा है. अच्छा, this I didn't know, Aryan. Okay. Wait guys, एक second. Ma'am, does that mean need function justifies corruption as it increases pleasure? Nahi. Need, it is serving your need. That means you are acting in a corrupt manner. I said, no, it is maximizing your economic rewards. But if you remember, I told you in the very first lecture, ethics कहाँ गए तुम्हारे? नहीं, तुमसे नहीं कह रही. उस बंदे से जो करप्शन कर रहा है, एथिक्स कहां गए? इफ देयर इज अ कॉन्फ्लिक्ट बिटवीन योर इकोनॉमिक वैल्यूज एंड योर सोशल वैल्यूज, विच वन शुड मतलब एज इन प्रमोट सोशल वैल्यूज, यहीं पे तो एथिक्स आता है. दिस इज वेयर एथिक्स कम्स, विच हेल्प्स यू डिस्टिंग्विश बिटवीन राइट एंड रॉन्ग. इज दैट क्लियर? Why don't I take sociology classes? Do you have any idea how many classes they have given me? Society, social justice, post-independence, ethics, essay, फिर sociology test series, open sessions, PT, mains 365, current affairs classes. सांस लेने का टाइम नहीं देते हैं यार. ऑप्शनल कहां से शुरू करूं मैं, बताओ यार. ठीक है, इज दैट क्लियर? अच्छा, विड्रॉल का यार देखो, ये मेरी पर्सनल ओपिनियन है. देखो यहां पे आप वेरी कर सकते हो. देखो सबका अपना अपना टेक होता है. मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन वगैरह ड्रॉप नहीं करना चाहिए, बिकॉज इतना भी नहीं है, मैनेजेबल होता है. आई वुड नेवर सजेस्ट, क्योंकि एक बार पढ़ाई रुक जाती है ना, फिर वापस करना बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है. सो आई वुड सजेस्ट कि वन शुड नॉट ड्रॉप. One should continue with their studies. If you are actually focused towards post-graduation, then please continue with your studies, and along with your post-graduation, you can easily attempt for this exam. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. This exam requires right kind of strategy. It doesn't require too much of time. It requires a certain amount of time on a consistent basis. तभी तो जो लोग work भी करते हैं, मैं उनको भी कहती हूँ यार जॉब छोड़ के इस एग्जाम की तैयारी नहीं होती है. If you look at the kind of questions they have been asking, the more you are observant, the more you are continuously studying and focusing, the better organization of content होगा. और पता नहीं क्यों मुझे ऐसी फीलिंग आती है, जब टाइम क्रंच होता है प्रोडक्टिविटी अपने आप अच्छी हो जाती है. अगर आपको पता है कि पूरा दिन आपके पास है, आप आराम आराम से पढ़ाई करते हो. ये मैंने खुद के साथ देखा है. जब मेरे को एक दिन की लीव होती है ना क्लास से पहले, तो मैं आराम से क्लास की तैयारी कर रही होती हूँ. लेकिन जहां मेरी एक दिन में 2 क्लासेस होती है, ऐसे ऐसे तैयारी होती है. आई डोंट वेस्ट टाइम देन. So this is a personal experience. One should not drop their studies. One should not drop their jobs just to prepare for this exam. ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए। बाकी सबकी इंडिविजुअल कैपेबिलिटीज है। अगर आपको लग रहा है आप दो चीजें मैनेज नहीं कर सकते हो एंड यू आर फोकस्ड अबाउट दिस एग्जाम, देन यू कैन टेक अ ड्रॉप। बट इफ यू कैन मैनेज, आई वुड सजेस्ट प्लीज मैनेज। ठीक है, क्या हो गया बच्चे? नीरज, हेयर माई एटीट्यूड बिना ऑप्शनल के भी देना है। देखो नीरज, कोई बुराई नहीं है। I'll tell you another set of example. There was a girl who is become IPS officer in her very first attempt. She was my student. Sociology optional था, prelims दे लिया था और prelims देने के बाद आई कि मैम उम्मीद नहीं थी, but I think I am clearing prelims and I've heard sociology is the smallest optional. So can I prepare during this period between prelims and mains? So then I told her ki fine, we don't have much time, so I'm giving you all the answer formats, prepare the answer formats. I told her certain important books jo padhni hai, and she managed and she became IPS officer in the very first attempt. So aisa nahi hai Neeraj ki it doesn't happen this way. It does happen that even if you're not prepared for your optional, even then you manage. But the thing is that she was already good with her answer writing. She was already good with her presentations. So इतना दिक्कत आया नहीं एंड जस्ट बाय, और उस साल लक भी अच्छा था कि जो हमारी टेस्ट सीरीज थी उससे बहुत कुछ फंस गया. So this year also it has happened. So it all depends on lot many other factors. Ideally we don't suggest, but that does not mean that you should not. If you think that if you manage to clear prelims, then within those 3 months you can put your heart, soul, everything and you can prepare, then just go for it. फिर तो कुछ सोचना ही नहीं है. Is that very clear? So everything depends upon how much effort you are ready to put in. If you are ready to put in double the efforts as compared to other aspirants during those period between prelims and mains, just go for it. Is that clear? Nothing can stop you. I have the example and I was about to take the name of the girl also. She is the IPS officer currently. And after prelims she decided which optional to take, क्योंकि उसे prelims देने के तुरंत बाद एहसास हो गया था she is clearing. So she immediately came up to me and she is like, सुना है सबसे छोटा ऑप्शनल है, तैयारी करवा दो. और हो भी गया. बट इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि ये सही तरीका है. तो क्लियर करने वाले क्लियर करते हैं. So I'm not denying that. But I'm at the same time I'm not saying this is the right strategy. But if you have the courage to put in double the efforts during those period, because I don't want you to waste your attempt. That is what my idea is. So if you are ready to do that, just go for it. फिर कुछ नहीं सोचना और फिर किसी से नहीं पूछना. मेहनत करने को आपको करनी है. तैयारी अगर आप कर सकते हो तो करो. And I am supporting you in this. ठीक है? ओ तेरी मैथ्स है. तो बच्चे मैथ्स अगर लिया है तो फिर ग्रेजुएशन वगैरह में होगा ही मैथ्स की तैयारी अच्छी खासी. तब तो हो ही जाएगा. Is that clear? ठीक है, चलो. अब क्लियर है गाइज. ये सिर्फ बातें हो रही हैं. इफ यू वांट टू लीव प्लीज जाओ. यहां पे कुछ भी सबके पर्सनल डाउट्स चल रहे हैं. सो यू कैन इजीली लीव द क्लास. इज दैट क्लियर? और कुछ? भुवन, फंक्शंस ऑफ एटीट्यूड चेंजेस. अरे कहां गए? क्वेश्चन नहीं देखने देते हो तुम लोग. नहीं आयुषी, आप ऑप्शनल चेंज नहीं कर सकते हो. दैट आई टोटली अंडरस्टैंड. बट एक आइडिया तो है ही ना कि ऑप्शनल क्या लेना है. थोड़ा तो सोचा होगा ना. मुस्कान, दैट कम्स विथ एक्सपीरियंस, दैट कम्स विथ इनफैक्ट यही एक रीजन भी है. अब सपोज करो मुस्कान का क्वेश्चन है, देयर आर मल्टीपल एजेंसीज ऑफ सोशलाइजेशन. So how do we ensure that your attitude is determined by the positive impact? तो ये भी होता है, ये with time आता है. तभी तो हम कहते हैं different agencies होते हैं determine करने के your ethics also. For example, in your family, honor is there, which is very important. So there has been an intercaste marriage, and because of which your family is supporting the idea of honor killing. You know it is wrong. So blindly you cannot support the value system of your family. खप पंचायत, how does it operate? तो ये नहीं हो सकता. सो इसके लिए देयर कम्स एजुकेशन, देयर कम्स क्या योर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. सो दैट कम्स विथ एक्सपीरियंस. इज दैट वेरी क्लियर? तभी एक प्लाटो की सेइंग है, यू कैन फॉरगिव अ चाइल्ड. लिसन वेरी केयरफुली, आई विल एक्सप्लेन दिस टुमारो. यू कैन फॉरगिव अ चाइल्ड हु इज अफ्रेड ऑफ डार्क. द रियल ट्रेजेडी इज व्हेन मैन इज अफ्रेड ऑफ लाइट. कल समझाऊंगी. ठीक है, क्योंकि आज क्लास मैंने कंक्लूड कर दी थी, कल इस बात को समझाऊंगी और थोड़ा सोचना इस पर। प्लेटो की सेइंग है, जस्ट थिंक इफ यू गेट टाइम। यार मैथ्स का मैं कैसे गाइडेंस दे सकती हूं? मैंने खुद ही मैथ्स नहीं ली थी मास्टर्स होने के बावजूद। सो मैथ्स की तो मत ही पूछो मुझसे। चलो, सो आर वी डन विद दिस? या सोशियोलॉजी अभी नहीं पूछो प्लीज। Ashish, we'll not answer sociology questions here. Okay, just one thing. You asked latent and manifest. देखो manifest तो obviously आपकी economic rewards वगैरह satisfy करना होता है, और latent होता है तो जो छुपा हुआ होता है, unanticipated. तो कभी आपने देखा है करप्शन से आपका काम बहुत जल्दी हो जाता है? ऐसे क्या होगा, गवर्नमेंट उसमें आपको कुछ कराना है तो रेड टेपिज्म चल रहा है, अंडर द टेबल तो जल्दी काम, फाइल ऐसे मूव करती है, एफिशिएंसी इंश्योर हो जाती है। तो यस, एफिशिएंसी इज इंश्योर्ड, यू कैन टैकल द प्रॉब्लम ऑफ रेड टेपिज्म विद करप्शन, ठीक है। तो डिले इन डिसीजन मेकिंग नहीं होती है, क्विक डिसीजन मेकिंग होती है, ठीक है। तो दीज आर द लेटेंट फंक्शंस, और मैनिफेस्ट तो जो ऑब्वियस है, ठीक है। बस हो गया बच्चे, अब ये मैनेजमेंट वगैरह नहीं, ये सब नहीं डिस्कस कर रही हूं मैं। चलो, ऑन दिस नोट आई विल कंक्लूड, एंड अंकुर यू कैन मेल मी, आई विल टेल यू द टीचर which you can refer. And as far as answer formats are concerned, that's available in the market यार, विजन की टेस्ट सीरीज अवेलेबल होगी मार्केट में, एक बार देख लो तो प्रीवियस ईयर के आपको आंसर फॉर्मेट्स मिल जाएंगे मार्केट से। इज दैट क्लियर? बच्चे, रचना की क्या क्वेरी है? मैम, आई विल अपीयर इन 2022, प्लीज एक्सप्लेन द फ्यूचर कोर्स फॉर मी। 2022 as of now, Rachna, then I will suggest that focus on your current affairs, focus on your main specific areas, because you are appearing next year, so you have good enough time. So focus on mains, focus on main specific topics, focus on your current affairs, क्योंकि you have to follow the current affairs, so monthly current affairs you have to keep yourself updated, so that last में बहुत pressure ना पड़े। Optional अपना cover करो, आराम से करो, अच्छे से करो, all the answer writing you have to do, ठीक है। So do that till this year's mains. You have lot of time at your disposal, and keep yourself updated with whatever is happening in the class. But abhi, as of now, you have lot of time at your disposal. You can clearly focus on mains. तो November तक at least तुमको mains पे focus करना चाहिए. This is what and after that you can start with your, and this period is the best period where you can do all the answer writing. You can prepare your optional well and keep it aside. You can prepare your main specific topics along with answer writing, mock test, everything, and keep it aside. But make sure that current affairs is happening every month. And I will ask, you have a specific mentors associated for that. इतना मत परेशान हो। मनीष, इन लोगों को बोलो ना कि अगर कोई भी दिक्कत है मेंटरिंग को लेकर, तो प्लीज we will assign you specific mentors. smriti.s@visionis.in। तुमको पता है आज क्लास कोऑर्डिनेटर सर भी गुस्सा करेंगे, बेचारे सुबह से क्लास कोऑर्डिनेशन कर रहे हैं और आज तुम लोग की वजह से अभी भी बैठे हुए हैं बेचारे। सो दिस इज माई ईमेल आईडी, आई विल कंक्लूड smriti.s@visionis.in, ठीक है। एंड कोई भी डाउट हो यार बच्चों, इसके लिए नहीं परेशान होना है, ये सब चीजें के लिए बिल्कुल भी परेशान मत हो। ये सारी चीजों के लिए तो मेंटर्स आपको एसोसिएटेड है, वो आपको क्लियरली बताएंगे आपको क्या करना है। दे कैन ऑल्सो प्रिपेयर अ मंथली प्लान फॉर यू, इसीलिए तो इतने सारे मेंटर्स रखे हैं यार। ऐसे मत करो, बिल्कुल भी टेंशन नहीं लेना है। रचना, अगर आपको कुछ भी दिक्कत लग रही है, देखो ये मेरा पर्सनल ओपिनियन है, बट इस पे बेटर डिस्कशन तब हो सकता है जब हम वन ऑन वन इंटरेक्शन करते हैं, ठीक है ना। तो मैं मेंटर्स को बोल देती हूँ, वो आपको पर्सनली गाइड कर देंगे दैट आपको अगला कैसे तैयारी करनी है, और जिसको जो भी दिक्कत है वो आप मेंटरिंग में एड्रेस कर लो। फिर भी कोई भी दिक्कत आती है, ड्रॉप मी अ मेल, क्योंकि फिर क्या होता है ना, प्लानिंग अगर आपको करनी है तो आपको पता होना चाहिए हाउ यू हैव टू प्रोसीड एवरी मंथ, and you have to also evaluate to what extent you've been able to achieve your targets. So I'll ask the team that they will talk to, and आप पर्सनली बात कर सकते हो, ठीक है। तो आप मेंटर्स के साथ डिस्कस करो, फिर भी कोई इशू आता है तो आप मुझे मेल ड्रॉप कर ही सकते हो, ठीक है। इन चीजों के लिए परेशान नहीं होना है, ठीक है। सो आई होप वट एवर वी हैव डिस्कस टुडे इज देयर, एंड कोऑपरेट विद कोऑर्डिनेटर्स, बेचारे बहुत मेहनत कर रहे हैं, मेरे को बहुत बुरा लग रहा है, आई एम वेरी सॉरी, ठीक है। तो on this note we will conclude the lecture. We'll meet tomorrow and we'll discuss the remaining things. ये जो मैंने बोला ना, you can forgive a child who's afraid of dark, but the real tragedy is when man is afraid of light. प्लेटो की saying है, थोड़ा सोच के आना, यूपीएससी का क्वेश्चन है, एवं ही नहीं डिस्कस कर रही मैं, ठीक है? तो अगली कल की क्लास में डिस्कस करेंगे, थोड़ा सा सोच के आना कि ये क्या कहना चाह रहा है. Is that very clear? So on this note, we'll conclude. Take care, people, and eat something now. Ciao. Take rest. Bye.